hiding behind the case. I'm scared. Evening everyone, Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Kath is there, so if you've got any questions or comments, obviously we're doing a live build today, so I won't be able to keep my eye on the camera too much. Well, I will be able to keep my eye on the camera a little bit, mostly the PC, not a lot in the chat, so if you've got any messages, tell them to Kath and she will relay them to me.
Just straighten the camera.
Kath's straightening the camera. Is that better now?
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone's doing wish I could speak, that'd be really useful, especially having a job as a content creator on YouTube. Still, it's an optional extra, I guess. So tonight we're going to be doing a live build. This is based on kind of some of the videos we've been doing recently, based around budget themed builds, and there is a reason behind this. I need to do some testing for Flight Sim 2020 with some slightly different hardware, so I thought I'd give the old B450 a bit of a, well, basically sending it off to an early grave, getting rid of that one. In actual fact, it is a little bit too high for the shot in the background, so what I want to do is replace that PC in the background with this one. It's a little bit smaller, and yeah, that stuff needs to move on. So anyway, let's have a look at some of the bits we're using today. Some of you probably recognise this already. This is the Colink Stronghold, the Colink Citadel. This is a micro ATX case. Again, a little bit smaller than that one. Not a great deal smaller, but certainly is a very, very slight bit smaller. Built in on the front, we've got this nice mesh. There's a couple of RGB fans on the front. There's one on the back as well. Got a bit of room in the top for extra fans. Probably not a radiator, but actually it's not a bad case all round. So if we spin it around, you can have a good look at it. Pretty nice. You've got this hinge side glass panel, which actually for me is perfect because I'm always tweaking around, tinkering, changing things out. So rather than with the other one having to undo all the screws, I can just pull the side open, change whatever I need to do, job done. So perfect for that sort of scenario. So that is the case. Let's get this out of the way so we can have a look at some of the other bits. Waldo is the Colink Citadel. I had to think about it again. Processor wise, Ryzen 3 3100. Pretty much the best bang for buck chip at the lower end of the market. Around about £100, well, actually quite a lot less than £100, about £80, £85 here in the UK at the moment. And actually, I can't even see it if it's in there. Hope I haven't left it somewhere else. Oh no, it is in there. There we go. There is the Ryzen 3, and I've actually got the overhead cam working as well, so hopefully you'll all be able to see that. So there you go. But actually focus at some point in our short lives. So yeah, Ryzen 3 3100. That's all good, so we'll be using that one. Just going to be using the stock cooler on this one, so no big frills there. I would at some point like to put something a little bit bigger in. I might go with something a little bit quieter as well because it's going to be on behind me while we're filming and that sort of thing. It is nice to keep those noise levels down if possible, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but obviously if it is, then we'll swap it out. Next up is our storage. So we've gone for I think this is the A60. Yeah, this is the A60 drive from Silicon Power. This is a Gen 3 PCI Express ×4 drive, 1 TB, 5-year warranty. Again, not outrageously fast, but certainly does get the job done. I didn't think a Gen 4 device in this particular setup made a lot of sense, being how much extra money it costs, so we're going with that one. Ooh. Ooh. This is the slightly unknown quantity and the potentially scary part of this entire build. As you can tell from this extremely OEM box, this is about as OEM as it gets. Although saying that, they have put a nice white gloss on it rather than it being a brown cardboard one. This is the power supply. This is, does come with a manual. This is from CWT. Now, if you're not sure who they are Channel Well Technologies. And Channel Well are basically the OEM for a lot of the bigger brands like Corsair, EVGA, ThermalTake, Antec, yeah, tons and tons of other ones. If you've had a power supply like maybe the Corsair, I think it's the CX500, maybe the ThermalTake Smart Power, most of those kinds of things, essentially it's a Channel Well Technologies power supply. This is basically a completely unbranded and unbadged, but it does come with nice blacked out cables. Might as well take it out of the box now, we've got it here. So nothing special, really basic label on the side. It is 80 watt bronze, so it's not an entire garbage power supply. Again, it's the same as the CX500, and I think it's the ThermalTake Smart Power 500, I think is the other one, which is the same. And a couple of the Antec Earthwatts ones are very, very similar as well. All made by Channel Well, again, Channel Well OEM. They make these power supplies for a lot of the bigger brands. So we'll be using that one in this build. Let's get rid of some of this packaging. Graphics card is the ever faithful and, for my mind, actually really good value for money. This is the Zotac 1650 Super. And this is a dinky little card. Now this is another part which I may potentially swap out at some point. I may actually downgrade it slightly after I've done my testing with Flight Sim 2020. I may actually downgrade it to a RX 570, the gigabyte one and the system behind. Or I'm tempted, I might even dump out for maybe an MSI card to fit in with the whole MSI build. Got an MSI motherboard. I'm going to be using an MSI keyboard and mouse, so it'd be quite nice to do that. Maybe get one of the Ventus cards from MSI, like a 1660 Super possibly, as a bit of an upgrade. But this is a nice little dinky card, no frills. It's a dual fan design. Would have preferred really on this one to have a single fan, a larger single fan to keep it quieter. These smaller fans can generate a little bit of noise, and unfortunately these lower end models don't have fan stop on them, so they will be spinning pretty much all the time. But that's the graphics card we're going to be using in this build. Memory wise, we could have gone with some cheap and cheerful. I have picked up some Corsair RAM recently, which was quite cheap, which was DDR4 3000. But V-Color actually were kind enough to send me some RAM a little while back, which is their DDR4 4000 RAM. This is their, what's it, Prism Pro, I think it is? Yeah, Prism Pro RGB. So let's get rid of that one and get rid of that one. So in the kit, you get 2 sticks of RAM, and you also get 2 what they call fulfill kits. So you can put 4 sticks in, 2 of them are DRAM-less, so they just give you extra RGB lighting. So there's going to be a ton of RGB bling going on. We've got RGB fans in the front. We've got, yeah, there's going to be a lot of lighting going on. So those are going to work out really well. And actually, I have tested these already in this particular board, and they do run straight away XMP at the 4000 rating, which really is a lot more than the processor requires. But maybe if we upgrade it again at a later date, then at least we've got a little bit of wiggle room for the RAM speeds. So that is the RAM we're going to be using, and thanks to V-Color for sending that to us. Also thanks to Colink as well, because they provide us the case, the Citadel, so big thanks out to you guys out there. Next up, motherboard. This one we've gone a little bit more upmarket. We could have went with the, where is it? Hopefully I won't break this grabbing it. I had a choice of 3, to be completely honest with you. So first up would have been this one. This is the A520 from Gigabyte. This is the MH. Not a bad board, does pretty much exactly what I want it to do, but because I'm going to be keeping it up here and I am going to be doing some benchmarking, I do want to have a little bit of thermal headroom. This one doesn't have the greatest of cooling on the VRMs, so that ruled this one out of the particular build.
Really pleased that you're doing that board.
Right. The next one up would have been this. This is the ASRock Phantom Gaming B550 Phantom Gaming 4. This is actually a really, really good board, but it is a full-size ATX board, so that ruled it out for this particular case. We do have another case which Colink have sent us as well, which is their new, where is it? I can't even see it. It's in here somewhere. Phalanx V2. So when we go to do building that, this is probably what is going to end up in that particular build. So that is my reason behind it. This is a micro ATX. It's also got built-in Wi-Fi as well, which is handy. So if I ever need to steal the LAN cable out of that PC to do some other testing with other stuff we do unboxings on, I can just use the Wi-Fi on this and leave the LAN disconnected there. So it's all good. And also this board is actually a really decent board. Pretty much one of the better of the budget boards on the B550. Hardware Unboxed did a review on it when they did their group test a little while back, and actually between this and the Bazooka there wasn't a great deal between them. So yeah, this is why I went for this one. Kath's got her hand up, so that means there is an incoming bombshell of a question.
No, it's not.
Hit me.
William's just got a B550M Steel Legend, and he's waiting excitedly for you to review it.
Right, okay. Steel Legend board. Yeah, I've been meaning to get my hands on a Steel Legend board, but I haven't as of yet. Being that I've got these boards lying around, I need to sort of move some things, but certainly it may be a possibility. They are very popular, so I may well get one of those and see how it goes. So I think that is pretty much it for the parts. I don't think have I missed anything out? Oh, cooling. One thing for cooling, I did have a couple of options for cooling as well. Gelid kindly sent me this. This is their GC Extreme thermal compound. But I did think to myself, well, I'm actually going to be swapping the processor out here and there. So thermal compound is a messy thing and it's a pain in the backside. Yes, it does work a little bit better in most instances. So that kind of ruled out the thermal compound for this particular setup. So that leaves me with the choices of the Gelid GP Ultimate. This is their new and improved thermal pad. I have actually tried this already and it's actually not bad, but again, I don't think it's designed specifically for being removed on a constant or regular basis. I did use it. It did come off quite easily. It's very kind of mess-free, but I did actually split one of the pads using it. You do get a couple of pads in there so you can cut them down. So that, for this particular instance, is going to possibly rule that one out for this particular build. So I have kind of come to the conclusion that I'm going to drop stuff. Oh, there's no way I'm going to grab that. I'll get a Kath to grab it in a minute. So we're going to go with the IC Cooling thermal pads. These are pretty decent. Again, it saves us getting into a mess, and also it saves us getting flamed by people saying you're using too much paste, or you're not using enough paste, or you've spread it with your fingers, or you've used a blob, not a cross, you've put a smiley face, you've put a sad face, you've put the crucifix, I don't know, whatever the case is. There's always someone who complains about something with thermal paste, so I figured I'll go with a thermal pad. Then hopefully all I can get is people saying, why did you use a thermal pad? In which case I can explain this because I don't want to keep on getting messy when I swap processors out. So that very much explains everything that's going on. So let's say a quick hello to some of you in the chat, as is customary on our live streams, and it does seem to be quite a lot of you in here already. So Ghost Adder was in there first, Angry Doge as well. So these are the Discord crew. If you want to join our Discord crew, there will be some links in the video description. So if you want to join us and have some fun outside of YouTube, then you're more than welcome to do. Or maybe you've got technical questions, or you've maybe asked a question on one of our YouTube videos. Sometimes on YouTube videos, chat gets lost. It's really difficult to keep track of it, and if there's multiple people all asking you questions, especially specific detailed questions, it's really hard to keep up with it. So if you do have any questions that are a little bit more than kind of yes or no answers, please do come along to our Discord chat and you can ask away in there. If I'm not available, someone else will be. It's up and running 24/7, and there's generally somebody on there at all points of the day. There's that massive plug out the way. Oh, talking of plugs, we've also got the Mike's Unboxing hoodies, which should be arriving hopefully in the next day or two. So if you're considering getting yourself a hoodie for the up and coming cooler months, then do bear this in mind. We are going to be selling them basically at cost price. So we're not like one of these YouTubers where you have to pay like $50, $60 for a hoodie. They're going to be basically what they cost us, including the cost of shipping. So if you want to pick yourself up a hoodie, in the next couple of days they will be available. If you want a t-shirt like this one, Mike's Unboxing, or you want one of our Mike's Unboxing pens like these, you can join on our Patreon. Small donation will secure you a pen. Slightly larger donation will secure you a t-shirt, and a slightly larger donation again will get you both of those things. We will be working on that as well on Patreon. So if you want a hoodie, if you send us a Patreon donation for a month, then essentially you'll get yourself a hoodie. But we're yet to work that out. That'll be coming up very soon, depending what the quality of the hoodies are like. I haven't ordered from this company before for hoodies, so depending on the quality, we may or may not be putting them on the Patreon. So just to put that one out there. Where else we got? So British Noobs in the house as well. Me. Carlo Jackal says live build. Hope you've got your tweezers and Swiss Army knife ready.
Got me.
I got my tweezers, otherwise known as cable ties. I've got my side cutters, or snips. Got my magnetic screwdriver. And over there, sat behind the camera, is my Swiss Army wife, Kath. Lessa says, hello mortals. I wasn't expecting a Thursday live stream. I kind of was, but I wasn't. Irie Wolfman says hi. Skystalker says, good morning all. Who else we got? Seema Knight says, evening Poe. Seema Knight, another one of the moderators from our Discord chat. Who else we got? Dave Bells, they're talking about the lockdowns and stuff, so we're trying not to get involved with that too much. Mozon says it's time. It is very nearly. Jay Rich says hi Mike. Hey, how you doing Jay Rich? Thug Tech Gamer, wow, I always struggle with that one, says, hello sir. Hello to you, my friend. Alessa says, and there's that music again. One of these days I need to write a bit of original music for the stream. Please do. I would appreciate that a lot. Our inverted commas theme tune is getting a little bit tired these days, and I'm actually getting quite fed up of all the people commenting saying, oh, it's Technical Guruj's music, or it's Content Cop music, or it's this, that and the other channel's music. I know. When I started, I didn't realise that everyone was using it. I do apologise.
And we copied them.
And yeah, obviously we did copy them. We'd never heard of them. Technical Guruji is very big in India, and it's not a channel that I'd even heard of before. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, so if anybody does want to write a jingle and a sting for the channel, please feel free to reach out. The address is at the bottom there, mike@mikesunboxing.com. And yeah, I would definitely be happy to hear from you. We also got Waldo135, Glenn's in the house as well, another one of our Discord regulars. William Regio, that was been deleted, so I can't see that. Jesse says,
It was, are you going to use that motherboard?
Right, okay. Aaron's in the house as well. Jesse Afram. Jesse Afram says 1 TB isn't for gaming. Why would that be? I don't quite understand why that is.
Although that PC won't be used for gaming, really.
Yeah, it isn't going to be for gaming as such. It is mostly for, well, hopefully I'm going to get rid of the laptop and start streaming from the PC behind me, which will make life a little bit easier and give me a little bit of room on this desk. But certainly that 1 TB drive, put Windows on there, is going to be probably up to, what, I don't know, 20 gigs maybe. That does leave you with a massive amount of room for games. Put your Steam library on there. Flight Sim 2020, what's that, 200 gigs or something crazy now? So even with that on there, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare or something like that, still we're only taking up half the drive, so certainly it's going to be absolutely fine for gaming. Steve Johnson says, hello Mike, PC Road for the win. Yeah, last night we were watching the PC Road live build, which is kind of almost my my kick up the backside to say, Mike, you haven't done a live build for a long time, so about time you pulled your stubby little fingers out and got on with it. And speaking of which, that's what we probably should do. So I'm not going to, I'm not ignoring the chat. Well, I kind of am, to be fair. So let's be completely honest. Right, first things first, what should we start with? Let's get the processor mounted on the motherboard, because that is always one of those things which is nice to get out of the way. And hopefully you'll be getting some good views of this. So again, MSI B550 Pro VDH thing, Wi-Fi, etc. Better get that out, definitely going to need that. And are we going to need additional PCIe mounting screws for the drive? Nope, they're already in there already, so that is cool. Nice looking board actually. Let's put it onto the top cam so you guys can see it. So that is the board. So it's a quite nice layout actually, and I like the fact that the M.2 slot is actually above the graphics card slot, so you don't get it kind of buried in all the kind of heat wash underneath here. Also, you've got the armor plating top for the for the RAM cooling or DRAM cooling. 4 sticks are available, 2 channels over 4 slots, so nice if we want to upgrade the RAM a little bit later on. We've got front mounted USB Type-C there. Do apologise if the camera is going in and out of focus, it is crap, sorry.
Where's your wireless static bracelet?
My wireless static bracelet is currently in the wash. The socket, all that is all nicely spaced out here, and you've got this huge heatsink on the VRM over here, which is absolutely enormous. I don't know if you can really see the size of that, but considering the price of this board, it is a budget board, around about £100 here in the UK, but you do get a lot for your money. And on the back for the I/O, get a bit closer, so you've got VGA on there, you've got DVI, you've got DP, DisplayPort, HDMI, you've got a few USB 3.0s, which is handy for streaming devices like HD60, etc. Also got the ports on the top there for the Wi-Fi antennas, and you've got your outputs for your audio. Not many outputs for the audio, but to be fair, normally I output my audio through the HDMI, either on the motherboard or on the graphics card, or plug in a USB DAC or headset. So not a big deal for me. So that is, yeah, pretty cool. So, go on.
Hammer in the IO.
Hammer in the IO shield, definitely. Now this board actually is known to be a working board because we have reviewed it and I have tested it actually relatively recently with another processor, so we should be good. I'm going to use the cardboard box for the motherboard to actually put stuff on as my anti-static, because cardboard doesn't carry a great deal of static, which is very fortunate. So what shall we do first? Let's get a processor on. So again, processor wise, Ryzen 3 3100. And all we need to do is open up the ARM on the side, and with the writing on the CPU, which hopefully you can see. So essentially there's socket writing on there, it says socket AM4. Just make sure the writing on the chip is facing the same way as the writing on there. Also, there is a little indentation in the corner there, which also matches up with a very small indentation on the CPU in this corner, just here. So as long as that matches up on that side and the writing is around the right way, the processor should just fall into the socket, which is what it's done. And I don't know why, but for some reason I do enjoy doing this, is to just apply a little bit of finger pressure onto the top when the mechanism goes down and then lock it into place. I don't think it actually serves any purpose at all, but I've done it for so many years now, it's actually very difficult for me not to. So that is the processor installed. And next up, we're going to want our thermal pad. And we're going to be using this. This is, as you can see, I've used this numerous times. This is actually really cool because you can just keep on reusing these things. And I know people are going to get really triggered, and like, you can do this with it, you can rub it in your fingers. You're not meant to, because obviously it's going to pick up grease and someone's going to go, oh, but there's going to be grease on it and it's going to affect the thermals. Basically, it doesn't. It's within a kind of 0.1 or at most 1 degree different if you get grease on them. So seriously, like, there's a lot bigger things in the world to be worried about than a little bit of grease on your thermal pad. Now, because we're using the stock cooler, we have to remove these AMD standard socket mountings, so we're going to get rid of those.
How much difference in temps would a pad give compared to MX4, Kieran's asking?
Kieran's asking how much... actually, can you guys hear Kath? Can you hear her clear enough when she asks me the questions, or do I need to relay the questions when she says them? I'll wait for you to say in the chat before I actually start repeating the questions too loudly.
What processor are you using? Ryzen?
Yeah, Ryzen 3 3100. Right, the screws are out, so those you want to put in somewhere safe, like well, essentially in there. Skystalker says we can hear her softly. She sounds softly, she is a bit quiet. So yeah, the question was, what Kieran said, how much difference is the temperatures between a pad and something like MX4? Now, to be completely honest with you, when I've done testing before with these pads, the difference is very, very minimal. I would say realistically, it depends, again, actually on the processor as well. On the lower end processors, the difference is pretty much, well, it's unmeasurable. You can't notice the difference because the AMD processors these days fluctuate with the kind of precision boost and all that kind of stuff. Unless you do it on an extremely scientific level, like with monitoring the frequencies and all that kind of stuff and the temperatures as they drop and fall, it's really difficult to measure it. I've tried to do it and I've never seen anything more than basically 1 or 2 degrees difference, if that. It is very, very difficult.
Aletta said in her experience it's been 2 or 3 degrees.
Yeah. Aletta does more extreme stuff and with water cooling as well. So again, 1 or 2 degrees or 2 or 3 degrees, it isn't a great deal. Although saying that, if you're at a place where you're getting to your thermal limitations of your processor, then those 1 or 2 degrees can actually make a big difference. So I'm going to try and place that in there.
Aletta's also asked, will you ever do an open loop build?
Will I ever do an open loop build? I probably will at some point. I probably will. I should do it for one of my celebratory type builds.
Although this is.
And in fact, actually, this stream does mark, weirdly, this is actually our 1000th video on YouTube. 1000 videos we've uploaded to this platform, which is yeah, quite impressive. Considering when we first started out, and one of my relatively close friends said, Mike, you'll be lucky if you ever get 100 subscribers. And here we are now with just over 41,000 subscribers and 1,000 videos under our belt and about 16 million total views. Yeah, I think we've done all right. But mostly it's down to you guys for watching and commenting and keeping me going, really. And also Kath, obviously. Kath's got to have a big shout out for, she is the brains behind the organisation. I'm just the monkey that does the stuff on camera. So that is the cooler on. Now we've got to route this PWM connector for the CPU fan.
What brand was the pad?
The brand was IC. I think they call them IC. Yeah, Innovation Cooling, IC. Guys see that? That's probably upside down, sorry. Innovation Cooling, IC Graphite Thermal Pad. I really do, it's only recently I've started using them. I actually bought these ages ago and I did a review on them probably, I don't know, might even be getting on for a year ago now. They were starting to become kind of quite a big thing in the news and a lot of YouTube channels were starting to use them. I generally prefer paste for a long-term build, but when you're swapping stuff in and out all the time, actually I think the thermal pads do actually make quite a lot of sense, unlike most of my streams. But yeah, 1,000 videos on YouTube, that is just a phenomenal thing. Absolutely insane.
Wait, he removed thermal compound under the cooler before?
Yes, this cooler, sorry, I should have been a bit clearer about that. This cooler has been used a couple of times and I have actually cleaned off the existing paste. So if you have got paste on your cooler already, then obviously go with that if you want to. Well, that's tucked in quite nicely. So I've actually just tucked the cable into the motherboard there, just at the top. So it keeps that nice and clean looking. Now, because of the way that the AMD cooler is with this little notch on the side, if you put it on this side, you can see already it's going to be quite close to the RAM sticks. Hopefully you can kind of work out where that is. So it is going to be quite close, which is why I've turned it that way. I don't know why AMD didn't have that logo at the top or at the bottom, so obviously you can twist it around. That would have made so much more sense. Who looks at their PC sideways on? Look at the logos, MSI. That one's even AMD that way, conveniently. But
Luna asked, is thermal
anyway.
paste compulsory, or is this thermal paste compulsory?
Is this thermal paste compulsory? Well, thermal paste, you do need to have some sort of thermal interface compound on your CPU, between your CPU and your cooler. You don't have to use a specific paste. You can just use the stuff that comes with the cooler. It's absolutely fine. I use all kinds of stuff. I've used this before. This is HC1B, I think that is. HC1B. You can pick up this for really, really low amount of money on Amazon, that kind of stuff. I've also used that one. This is a HY710. This one has a particularly high silver content or metal content. As you can see, it almost looks metallic in comparison with this one. Although it's probably not the best of shots there. But yeah, there's a lot more metal contact in that, which is good for cooling, but not so great for electrical stuff. So if you get it spilt anywhere, potentially you could damage stuff. So that's another good thing about these thermal pads. I think the carbon pads aren't actually conductive, if I remember rightly. I could be wrong. But anyway, I like the pads, keeps it nice and simple. Job done. So let's stick our RAM in, because the RAM is pretty special. I really do like this RAM. And so we've got this from V-Color. This is their Prism Pro RGB. And I've got to try and work out which ones now actually have the RAM in them. So that is a RAM one, that is RAM one, and that is not a RAM one. So we're going to work from the inside outward. Now when you're using dual channel for RAM, 2 and 4 are the slots you want to be using if you've got a 4-slot device. If you've only got a 2-slot device, then just stick them in both, obviously, because you've got no choice. But these are exceptionally cool. I do like these. Very shiny, very pretty. And if you look on the RAM itself, you'll see there's a little notch, which is just here. just about pick that up. So the notch lines up with a notch on the motherboard. I do apologise again, these are not the best of shot from that camera, but essentially these should only fit in one way. So slot it into the bottom first of all, open up the jewels, and it should snap into place. Go on.
Akuna said this cooler is already half thermal paste. Isn't it enough? So if it's already got it.
Yeah, if your stock AMD cooler has paste on it already, then yeah, go ahead and use that. If you are going to use a thermal pad on top of that, you don't. You take off the thermal paste and replace it with the pad. So like I said, this cooler has been used before, and I have cleaned off all the existing thermal paste just to make it so it's nice and clean and ready to go.
George is asking, can you zoom in on the motherboard?
I unfortunately can't, I don't think. Let me see if I can in OBS. I might be able to do that. Ah, there we go. Hey, there we go. There's technology for you there.
No, it's not lined up, is it?
Yeah. It should go back now, and there we go. Are we all happy? Happiness? Good, good. So another one of our DRAM for fill kits.
What size is best for the Ryzen processors?
See all the gaps on there? The pins are loads of pins missing, so it doesn't need all the pins. What size of RAM?
What size is best for the Ryzen processors?
I'm
not sure.
The question there is what size is best for Ryzen processor. If you mean, sorry, who's that from?
Kieran.
Kieran, what size? Well, for the current Ryzen processors, generally they all tend to work at their optimum at DDR 3600. And 8 gigs is pretty much the minimum really for Windows. 16 gigs is pretty much the sweet spot right now. Although 32 gigs is very shortly going to start becoming the norm, I think. Some people are getting to that point already. So there's the last of our memories.
Allosaurus said, is that the wrong RAM slots?
Well, being on these two in the middle, or sorry, this one is just an RGB light. That one is the DDR. That one is a light, and that one is a DDR. So going from the MSI manual, if you're using dual channel, it says to use slots 2 and slots 4. So you count the slots from the CPU outwards. So normally, if you weren't using the DDR modules, the light up ones, then slot 1 and slot 3 you'd leave empty, just having slots 2 and 4. This should be absolutely fine.
All right. Ezio says, does Ryzen 7 3600X run fine with Aurora Cancer B450 Elite?
Kind of. Ezio does the Ryzen 7 3700 run fine with B450 Elite. It does, but it's not ideal. It runs okay, it will run, but personally I would much rather have a B550 board. And also for things like RAM compatibility, excuse me, I have found myself recently with the Aorus Elite trying to get just some 3000 rated DDR RAM has been a real pain. It just will not have it. So if you want to have compatibility, I would certainly try and keep all your platforms together. So 3000 on a B450 or sorry, B550 or higher, 2000 series on a B450 or higher, that kind of thing. So this is our RAM or our heatsink for our M.2 drive, which covers up our M.2 slot. So this has actually got a thermal pad on it already, if you can see that very well. Get the angle right, there you go, you can see it reflecting now. So you've got that nice reflective pad on there, which means it's nice and clean. So what we're going to want to do now is get our M.2 drive.
Kieran meant the thermal pads. For what size?
What size? Oh, thermal pads generally, they will all kind of squish down to whatever they're under pressure on. So they're...
What size is ours? Because I know it's hard to find the links.
Oh, width-wise?
I don't know.
Yeah, this is a 40 by 40 graphite pad. Wrong way around again. There we go, can you see it? 40 by 40. So here is our M.2 silicon power. Again, thanks to the guys over at Silicon Power for providing the M.2 drives. They actually provided it for another project, but this is more important. So with the M.2 drives, you put the fingered side in first and do it on a slight angle. So this edge is raised up, which if I tilt the board up now, you should be able to just see that, see where it's angled upward. So it's kind of like a little bit springy when it's in there.
How much does this PC cost?
How much does this PC cost? I'm not entirely sure actually. I would say it's got to be around about $650, I would imagine. Somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe slightly more. Actually, when we're done, I'll go through and we'll price it all up. I think it's going to be around about the $650 mark. Might be slightly more. The prices are changing. There's some things like the RAM, possibly for a budget build, I may have looked elsewhere because the actual fulfill kit that comes with these RAMs, which doesn't really add much other than looks, does make it a slightly more expensive kit. So for this particular 4000 kit, it is quite expensive because it's a faster kit. So you don't necessarily need that.
Kuna asked, he only has one 500 gigabyte M.2. Is that enough?
Yeah, well, it depends on your size of drive. It depends on what it is you're storing. Obviously, the smaller drive you've got, the less you can put on it. So you may find yourself having to uninstall things. But like with most of us, if we get to a point where we want to do something more than what we can actually physically install, you just uninstall something or remove a game. So if you've got a relatively fast internet connection, then there's no reason why you shouldn't just go ahead and maybe uninstall a couple of games and give yourself a little bit more room. That would be, for me, the sensible solution. You can get away with installing Windows on a 240 SSD or M.2 drive, just obviously you will have to remove some things to make room for others. Consider it like a bucket. So if you've got a bucket and you want to fill your 5 litre bucket up with 10 litres of water, can't do it. You got to pour some out.
Phil White said, is this an MITX build then?
It is a micro ATX build, yes, it is. Allosaurus 87 says 32 megahertz RAM are good enough for Ryzen 3000. Yeah, anything from 32,000 upwards is pretty much in that sweet spot. Somewhere between, well, the Infinity Fabric seems to do well between 1600 megahertz and around about 1900 megabytes, megahertz rather, if you can get there. The kind of the standard is 1800 is the real sweet spot that we seem to be best performance. So DDR5 3600 is the kind of sweet spot for Ryzen 3000, whereas the DDR 3200 was the sweet spot for Ryzen 2000 series. I think that is, yeah, I think we're pretty much done there. So we've got our RAM installed, we've got our CPU installed, we've got our storage installed. So I think now we can start prepping the case. So let me put this to one side. Try and make a little bit of room here. So how are you guys all doing tonight? Are you doing well? Everyone cool? Hopefully not cold, because it is certainly getting a little bit colder here. Definitely noticed it over the last couple of weeks that it is getting a little bit colder, for sure. Now obviously with this board, or with this entire build, if you want to add more storage, it's really easy to add more storage. You've got another M.2 slot here. So you could put another PCI Express Gen 3 drive in there, or SATA SSD in there if you wanted to, without having to use any other SATA cabling. You've also got 4 SATA standard connectors there, so if you want to add a mechanical drive or a 2.5-inch SATA drive, you can do that really, really easily. I really do like this board. With the Wi-Fi, the VRM setup, the 4 slots, the whole layout, I think it's just it's a really cool little board. And also some nice features are the RGB. So you've got RGB ports down here at the bottom. You've got RGB1, RGB2. That's for your standard 4-pin RGBs. You've also got a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB down in this corner. And there's also one in the in this top corner as well. So if you've got stuff with addressable RGB in the top of the case, use this port. If you've got it at the bottom, you can use this port, or combinations of both. And if you want to go completely balls to the wall, You can install your 5V addressable RGB and also have some kind of other mood lighting almost with your 12V RGB. And mix and match. You can actually, in the Dragon Center, which is kind of a replacement for Mystic Sync, you can get all that configured together. So yeah, and you can change all the colors, do what you like. So the only limitations are your imagination, really.
Right, Anthony Law says when it's built, can you look at a few things for him?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, when it's built, I can certainly have a look at a few things for you.
No, his is lower offset voltage doesn't work on the B450. Manually setting the voltage lower will stop it from booting.
All right, yeah, that's probably something for our Discord if you want to. The voltages on your board. Come over to the Discord a little bit later after we finish this build, and we'll certainly give you a hand. Hopefully, someone will kindly put the links for that in the description right now. So that is our motherboard done, and let's clear some of this stuff out of the way. The joys of live broadcasting, having to actually tidy up behind yourself whilst you've got people watching, which is the equivalent of doing the washing up while you've got company. trying to still entertain and keep everyone occupied and make people drinks and all that stuff whilst trying to tidy up your house. Anyway.
Phil White asked if you're in Bristol.
Phil White, yes, we are in Bristol. Sunny, well, not really sunny.
Dark and dreary.
Darkest, deepest Peru, otherwise known as Bristol. Right, let's put that over there. Actually, let's zoom that back in. Sorry if I'm... Oh, has that made that go wrong?
Are you going to do benchmarks on it?
I probably won't be doing benchmarks. I do need to do... Oh, hello, there's me. Hiya! I probably won't be doing benchmarks at this point. I'm probably going to wait for that. I do need to install Windows on it, which I may or may not do during the stream. It depends if anybody's actually interested in watching somebody install Windows on their PC. I think that's going to work, and there we go, snap to position. There we go, we got all this empty free space. Awesome.
I'll use maximum money for graphics
there we go.
About $230, which is best.
It depends how many, well, now guys, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to try and say it once only. When people are asking me questions like, what do you think is best value for money? If you're telling me a price in dollars, like dollars are used in a lot of countries, so please try and tell me what country you're in also as well, because otherwise, like Canadian dollars are worth a lot less than American dollars, and other countries, it differs. So if you can ask questions about specific parts and if something is good value or not, it helps if you can tell me the country as well, especially like for euros as well, because the euro is worth more in some countries than others. So try and clarify that, and I will do my best to give you a straight answer. So here is the case. I like this case. What do you guys think of it? I think it's really cool. Really nice. I'll tell you what I will do before we start. I'm going to take off the side panel so as not to damage it. And that's just on hinges on the side, so we can just quickly take that off. And also I'm going to do the same on the other side, take off the back panel. So we've got less things in the way. And actually this is really nice because I've now got my my new gaming chair, which was kindly sent over to the people over at gtracing.com. Thank you guys. Much more comfortable than the dining room chairs that I've been using, and actually a little bit more comfortable than the other chair that Cav's using. Don't tell her. Right.
The cat's already told me.
Yeah, the cats knew, don't they? Okay, so we've got our case now. We're taking the side panels off so we can see what is exactly going on. Now the first thing you want to do for when you're putting a motherboard into a case is take a look at the mounting pillars. See where your mounting pillars are for your micro ATX and the layout of the actual pillars. Make sure they're all in the right places. If you get them in the wrong places, there's a very strong possibility that you could actually short out the motherboard. I've personally done it myself by accident before now, So it is a very easy thing to do, and it only takes a very slight lapse in judgment or concentration, and it can be done. So always a good idea if you can. It used to be a lot easier actually when they were all brass pillars, but now they tend to be quite often riveted in, or at least kind of the same colour as the rest of the case. And then obviously when they go through the paint booth or whatever, they get spray painted so they're all the same colour. So what I'd like to try and do is look at the motherboard, line it up first of all, just do an eyeball, and make sure that it all matches up and there's no additional pillars or no holes or pillars missing. But also what you can do is if you look at the back, you can kind of look at the reverse as well. So just to make sure that the pillars are sticking out in the right place, and also make sure you haven't got too many. So if you count how many holes you've got on your motherboard, now this one I'm pretty sure is on 8 or 9 because it's a little bit wider than usual. So on this board we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 pillars in this one. You could almost get another one in that bottom corner if you wanted to for support, but it doesn't actually have a hole there. So the 8 holes on the board, so make sure you've only got 8 pillars in there and try and make sure they're in the right place. Most motherboards will have a layout on them saying ATX or M80X or ITX if you're choosing that sort of build. So when you've got the pillars all in the right place, which were, I think I actually must have put this board in here before actually, because the pillars seem to be in exactly the right place, which is very convenient for me. Another thing you can do is to make sure you've got the right screws for your pillars. So take your pillar screws from your motherboard box or case box or whatever you've come with, and just try some of the screw threads. Now you'll find that some of the finer ones generally tend to be for pillar screws, but it can change depending on cases. So just by hand, try and thread a screw all the way right into the pillar. And you can, if you want to be ultra sure, is do that on every individual pillar. Now sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. It's not always necessary, but I have found there are some manufacturers, InWin being one of them actually, where for some reason they had like a central pin which was a different thread than the rest of them. So sometimes it can actually save you a little bit of hassle, because you get there and you've got your screwdriver and you're trying to screw it in, and it's like, well, have I not got it mounted right? Am I in the wrong position? What's exactly going on here? So save yourself a bit of time and effort. If it's a first time build as well, I would certainly go through your bag of screws and actually put a screw in each one of the pillars and just make sure they all fit and they screw down nicely and there's no kind of coarse threads or anything. That will save you a lot of time and aggro later, especially if you get to the point where one of the screws won't quite go in and you're not sure whether maybe something's behind it, is shorted out or whatever it is. So yeah, it's boring shit, it really is. I do apologise, but it actually will save you a lot of time and aggro at a later date. And also it means you don't have to take the whole thing out to make sure you got the right pillar or the pillar's not damaged or something. Kath's got her hand up.
Phil White wants to know, are they 140s, the fans?
The fans in these, actually, no, I don't think they are. No, they're 120s. Now the fans that actually come in stock with these, the Co-Link ones, they've got a slightly different setup on them. So they've got addressable RGB output, which is on their own custom connection, which is going into this control box on the back down here. But they've also got 3-pin PWM style connections as well, so it's basically DC controlled. So you can, with the fans, have them controlled through this. Actually, if I put this side down there we go, you can see it a bit better. So on the case, you've got these outputs. So you've got 6 outputs. So you can have like 2 fans at the front, 2 in the front, 2 in the top, 1 on the back, and still have a spare. So you can connect those up there on the 4-pin PWM headers, and then there's a pass-through cable, which is this one here, which I cable tied up, which I won't be using, because I'm going to be connecting all the fans directly to the motherboard, because each one of the fans, if I can just, where are we? There we go, follow the cables back. So each one of them actually has its own PWM style connection. So we can plug those straight into the motherboard. That is the thing with some of these cases. They don't often come with that. So quite often if you've got a custom controller, everything has to be plugged into here. But again, we're not going to do that. We are going to be plugging in the addressable RGBs to this, and then using the pass-through for the addressable RGBs, which is on this cable here. So that cable will be going, oh, that's quite a nice shot. That's a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB. So that'll be plugging into the motherboard, and then that signal will then go through this controller and control anything plugged into those ports there.
Anthony will ask, will you be flashing the latest BIOS?
Will I be flashing the latest BIOS? Possibly. Possibly. I think I might have a newish one on there anyway. We'll see how time goes and we'll see how far we get into it. If it gets a bit late, and yeah, we might be getting a bit late and tired by then, but we'll certainly see what we can do.
Lunar Boy's building a PC right now, but when he turns on, nothing comes up on the motherboard. Can someone help?
Yeah.
Join the Discord.
Yeah, Discord. If you've got problems with PC stuff, Discord. This isn't the time or place at the moment. Mr. Sir C. McKnight, 1984, says, Dear Mr. Churchill, would you say it is a good idea to post your board and do some testing in the motherboard box before putting it into the case, Poe? Yes, that is always a very good idea. At some point, when you've got your motherboard and everything put together, it really, really is a good idea to make sure that it actually works. Just so that you can rule out anything. So if you get your build back together, if you get your build put all as it should be back in and it doesn't work, then it is worth doing that. Maybe I should try that now. I don't know.
Braden said he made the mistake of plugging an extra PCIe power connector into the 8-pin slot on his motherboard. It worked fine. I've switched it a day later. Can you tell me why I should not do that?
No, if you've got an extra connector on your motherboard and you've plugged it in, then it should be okay. We're going to try this now, so I'm going to put the graphics card in. And we'll just try a very, very quick setup, make sure it all works, make sure it posts, which kind of takes the fun out of it really, because especially for you guys who are probably, fingers crossed, hoping that it fails, or maybe just for pure comedic value. It's actually good fun actually. But yeah, let's do that. We'll try it. I just noticed James Miscellaneous is in the house as well.
Mike,
how you doing, James?
Did you plug the front panel connectors correctly into the motherboard, the small little ones?
Have I?
Yeah.
Well, no, I haven't gone that far yet.
Kieran says you should use the in-win Saturns.
Actually, that's one thing I was going to say just after. I'm glad you said that. So there's our 8-pin CPU connector. Yeah, that is the plan actually, because the in-win Saturns are in a box waiting on the shelf. That is going to be everything, because there's some 140s in there and some 120s. So I am looking forward to actually doing that, to putting those in and seeing what that is like. This is going to be a bit messy. So in the spirit of fair play, etc., we are actually going to make sure this board posts and everything works as it should do before we put it in, just so I don't have to have egg on face later. And it is actually good practice to do it. You should really, if you can, try and make sure your board actually posts before you put it in the case. Very well pointed out, Mr. McKnight. I thank you. Kath, could you pass me that HDMI cable from the back of that monitor, please? Right, that is that connected. And there, so we're going to plug our HDMI into the graphics card. I'm not going to bother plugging anything else in, like a keyboard. Actually, I have got a keyboard and mouse here, so I suppose I should do that. Paul White says, yeah, it'll save little face too. Yeah, you will get some hate if it doesn't work. I'm used to hate. In this cruel internet world, I'm used to hate. So what do we need next? So we've got all that connected up. Let's move that away from the fan, because that's obviously a bad idea. And we need some power. So we're going to get our power connector for the power supply. And see if I can plug that in. And turn that on. Oh, sat on my back cushion. Oh. So normally at this point you'd try and turn on your PC, but you haven't got a power connector. So what you can do is use a metal object, and on the motherboard there's a section where you can just bridge the power buttons. And well, we've got power. In theory this should power cycle a few times because of the RAM that's in there. before we actually get a display on the motherboard. I might have to actually reset the BIOS. I can't remember what was on here last. So we've got an LED on there which says, I'm not sure what the first one is actually. Well, we've certainly got a boot error light, so we're probably going to have to reset the BIOS. Don't think we're going to get anything out of that. No. So let's kill that. This could end the stream really early if this turns out this is dead. It's unlikely. Where is the CMOS battery? Is it going to be... Oh yeah, it is right underneath the graphics card. So let's see if I can short that out quite easily from there. That might have done it. I might have to take the graphics card out. We'll see. We will see. So jump start again. So we're hoping to get a bit of movement from these LEDs at the top. And no, it seems to be stuck on one. I don't know. It's blipping around. What's it doing? Well, I got my graphics card in correctly. Ah, now luckily, there it is. Kathy might have to turn that screen around so the boys and girls at home can see.
Oh, Daniel asked what graphics card you've been.
No doubt. Oh, actually, there we go. So there is our boot screen. Now, actually,
should I zoom in or not?
That should be right. They can see that. So it's booted. See, this is live. Hello, I'm here. So at the moment it is Ryzen 3 3100 4-core processor, DRAM frequency, blah blah blah, 2666. Devices has changed CPU and memory. So as you can see there, just by quickly resetting the BIOS, Kath, can you switch that back now, please? So yeah, that'll do. That'll ding dang do for me. Yeah, as you can see, something like resetting the CMOS is one of those things in troubleshooting which can actually save you a lot of hassle. Now, I could have quite easily stripped this all down, taken the processor out, cleaned all the pins, taken all the RAM out, all that kind of stuff. So if you're in, well, not even if you're in a hurry, it does make a lot of sense to reset the CMOS. Now, I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think what processor I used on this last. I think it was a Ryzen 3 2200G with possibly, yes, with the, I think that was with the Corsair RAM, the DDR4 3000. So depending on the settings that were saved in the memory of the system, the CMOS, that may have been what had upset it. So just by quickly resetting the CMOS, saved a lot of problems. And if we go, there you can see, you've got the RGB RAM all looking very nice and shiny. It just does look like, looks like a huge block of color. I think it looks cool. Okay, so let's go back to that. So yeah, we're happy with that. So I'm just gonna, actually, should I run setup? Let's just run default values for now. So F2. And I don't think it's gonna boot. No, it's gonna go straight into the BIOS. So yeah, everything in there is looking tickety-boo. Once it's all built up, we'll go in and check the BIOS to accept the XMP and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we're all good. So let's cut the power there. And we can take this apart again, start getting the case ready. One thing I don't like about this power supply already is the connection cables are really, really snug.
C McKnight would like to see BIOS settings next for everyone to see.
I cut my finger. The BIOS settings we will go into when it's built up. We'll do that. We'll make it, tidy things up a bit, and we'll go into the BIOS settings and get that set up. So,
but remind you.
Do remind me.
Because you are rubbish.
I am rubbish. Now the graphics card actually wasn't fully seated in the board, which I did notice that actually that it was not quite fully seated in there, but it still worked. So that could have been part of our troubleshooting setup. So at this point now, we're happy that even though we haven't set XMP and stuff like that onto the motherboard and all those kind of settings, we know that at the very least it will fire up and it will post and produce a display. Now, obviously we don't know as far as stability is concerned, how stable it's going to be under a load. We won't ever find that out until we install Windows. So that is something we have, we've still got to come across. Think anything can go wrong. Compatibility can be a real pain in the backside with these systems, it really can. So let's get that on there. I'm going to have a quick slurp of tea a minute, because I'm getting a little bit... Yeah, please. We nearly got some sponsorship from a tea company, but they're only in America at the moment. Damn it. BIOS settings for everyone to see next, Mr. Churchill. Yeah, what I might do when I get the when we do the BIOS settings towards the end, I'll probably get my HDMI capture card and try and plumb it straight in rather than having to aim the camera at it. We'll see what we can do.
Danielle asks, have you a favourite RAM for AMD?
Yeah, my favourite RAM for AMD is the V-Color. Every single time I've had V-Color, I've never had any issues booting, all that kind of stuff. I know there's a lot of fanboys out there who will say, oh no, Corsair RAM is the bees, what's it, or whatever the case may be, Kingston, etc. I've used lots of them. The ones I've had most problems with have been Corsair. Vengeance RGB, George's stick died. Quite a few on the Discord have had similar sort of things. Corsair LPX even, I've had, well, there's a stack of it on top of that computer which I've been testing and it's been an absolute pain in the backside.
Do you want a beer yet?
They're all saying shit.
Where's the beer? Where's the beer? Patriot. I've not tried any Patriot RAM. Steve Johnson says, are you going to put some beer into that tea? No, this is not a PC World stream. I can't believe the guy did that yesterday on the PC World stream. He did a live build and he had some coffee, just regular coffee with milk, and poured it into lager. That was weird. Maybe it's a thing, I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you think that is a thing. Hopefully some of you, if you've knocked off work already, and if you haven't, well, just hopefully the boss won't mind, but grab yourself a cheeky beer. Cheers everybody. And cheers to 1,000 videos on YouTube. Amazing. Unbelievable. 1,000 videos in 4 years. Well, this is our 4th year. So, averaging, what, 250 a year?
Is it 2017? It's still our 3rd.
We're just about to go into our 4th year, aren't we? In 2021, in January. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Roll Call XP says, beer and coffee is great. Steve Johnson says, drunk already. Congratulations, Mike and Kath. Skystalker says, that is a ton of work. It certainly has been. I had a full head of hair when I started this. James Miscellaneous says, show me the dim slots, please. I must see what irks the great Skystalker. What have I irked the Skystalker with now? I'll tell you what irks me actually is that one's slightly further apart than the others for some reason. That irks me a lot. There you go. Be irked.
It's because slot 1's not level with 2, 3 and 4.
It isn't actually, yeah, it's not. It's, there is a little bit of a... That is really upsetting me actually.
Paul Bakewell's in.
Hi Paul Bakewell.
Have you tried Crucial Ballistic RAM kits?
Crucial Ballistics. Yes, I have actually.
Sticks.
Crucial Ballistics have been, they were one of the... Yeah, that's still done even with the RAM ran the other way as well. Oh man, that is really going to bake my noodle. Oh, actually, take out my USB dongle so I don't try and stuff it through the I/O shield. Right, let's get this case put together now. So, really, when you're putting a case together, I don't suppose there's any really wrong or right way of doing it. I'm probably going to go ahead and put the power supply in first, I think, just to get out of the way. And pull out all the cabling, get all the stuff out of the way so nothing's going to get cramped or chopped or sliced. There we go. Hopefully you can all see that reasonably well. If you can't, get a bigger monitor or bigger phone. So this is our power supply, and there's a fan on this side. So we're going to have the fan mounting down that way. As you can see, we've got some ventilation down there. There is a bit of space actually at the top, so you could technically put it in either way. I'm going to go ahead and put it in that way. Calf, in the white box for the power... Oh, sorry, it's on my side.
Alan asked, is air cooling better than AIOs today, Ryzen builds?
Better is a very kind of specific thing. Is air cooling better than AIOs on current Ryzen builds? Well, yes and no. There isn't really a de facto answer. For the money in general, you do tend to get more for your money, as in cooling performance, unless there's a specific bargain on. About a year or so ago, I think it was, I picked up those Cooler Master all-in-ones for like 20 quid a piece. So for those, really, that was almost impossible to do any better. They were very, very good for the money. At their full retail price, probably not quite so good. But yeah, air coolers actually have come up in price quite a lot recently. They are starting to get a lot more expensive. When we started this about 3 or 4 years ago, one of the early videos was the Cooler Master Hyper Evo 212 versus the Gamax. No, balls. The Gamax 400. I've lost a screw. Where's my screw? Oh, you mother effer. Oh, there it is. Yeah, versus the Gamax 400. And at the time, both of those were around about £20, which made it a pretty good comparison. But since then, they all seem to have crept up. You do see a bargain every now and then on Amazon, stuff like that. But it's... So, yeah,
We have got them to review soon.
we have got some air coolers coming soon. Oh yeah, I've got a water cooler which I'm going to put in this, maybe, or maybe even the Gamax F15 at some point. Matthew Day says, it's amazing the distance a drop screw can travel. Tell me about it. It's absolutely horrendous. Right, so that is our power supply in. This case actually has got some nice little rubber feet on there, so let's just tighten those last few screws up. Luckily as well, this case has got a little bit of sideways girth. She's a fat one. She's a fatty, ladies and gentlemen. But it means it's nice because we've got a little bit of room to work in on the inside. Sorry about the lack of a decent view here, but I'm just trying to cinch these up a little bit.
What did you think of the Cooler Master G100M?
I don't know actually. G100M, I don't know. Not a clue. Yeah, Allosaurus 87 says it must be studied for space travel. Yeah, damn right. What is it when you drop a screw? It just seems to go like a ridiculous amount of distance. Absolutely insane distance. Right, so that is our power supply in, and we've got all this wire to deal with now. But rather than deal with wire, let's do something far more exciting.
Ricardo thinks it's funny your lag between your laptop screen and the real screen.
Oh yeah, the lag is real. It is a real thing. Right, so we need that cable out through there. And normally at this point I would say it's a really, really good idea to put your motherboard's 8-pin power connector up through the top there, just so that when you get the motherboard in, you don't have to try and fish it through. So I'm actually going to stick to that, and I'm going to do it myself, if I can find it.
You have a screw loose. A screw loose. Hashtag official confirmed.
That must be from a letter.
No, see McKnight.
Oh, see McKnight. I have got a screw loose. That is what happens when you have a YouTube channel, and it all goes a little bit wrong. So just so, let's flip that down a bit. So what I've done is I've taken my 8-pin connector, which is that one, and just going to route it up through that hole there, so it's in the top of the case, ready. Because sometimes when you put a motherboard in, that area gets a little bit blocked off. That isn't the case in this case. No puns intended. So at this point now, really, to get this onto a flat surface to put the motherboard in, you should really stuff all this back inside. Again, down to personal preference if you do or not. I'm going to do it purely because there's a couple of people watching, so I suppose I should do it properly. And literally just stuff all that in there.
Snaky says someone else that pre-wires a case, Gertla.
Yeah, pre-wiring a case is a really good thing to do. I would try and do something with these other cables coming down, but we'll do that after, I think. So next up, let's put the I/O shield in.
Shall I move your beer?
So we've got I/O shield, and make sure it goes in around the right way. So normally you'd have your lower I/O come in there, etc, etc. Just make sure you match it up with the motherboard. So there you go, so just make sure it matches up. Uh-oh, Corona, go away.
I'm allergic to masks. I actually think because I'm fine one day and the next day I'm not, and then I guess it depends if I wear a mask too much or not.
There is our I/O shield inserted in the back there. So, and at this point, there's quite often there's little springy bits on this back tab, so you can bend those back. We'll do those later. So now we can put our motherboard in. So we've got our screws taken out, which are here on the side. Oh, you can't see them there.
Connor asked how big is the budget for this?
How big is the budget? The budget is as much as I can afford. No, joking. A lot of this was sent to us, so budget-wise on this is a little bit difficult to say, but realistically, I suppose it's around about the 650, 700 mark. I think most of it actually is in the video description, so you could take a look and see what the how it looks. I think it is around about 700 possibly, 650, 700. So with the motherboard, you want to lower it in, I/O first, so down and then kind of scoop it up round. So we're going to stick that in, and you should find that it just goes into place relatively easily. Some of these boards will have bits where you can actually locate it, but that's gone in pretty nicely. And quickly, you should acknowledge that the RGB's gone off, so that is for the super chats. So when we get a super chat, it's triggered with IFTTT to turn on the Hive wall socket, which then turns on the RGB disco ball. So thanks to Braden Nielsen, who sent us $5 and says, "Hi Mike, I put a PCIe 8-pin into my motherboard 8-pin. Ooh, I fixed it later, but it did work. But I'm wondering, did I hurt the motherboard? Why did the PCIe fit?" That's a good question. I think they are actually wired very, very similarly. I'm not entirely sure. I would need to look at some schematics on that. Hopefully, well, hopefully you haven't damaged the board. If it still works and is posting and booting and all that, then it should be okay. Although some boards will work on just a 4-pin part. So even if you've damaged the secondary part, it might just be taking power from the 4-pin, the first 4-pin. Difficult one. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Wow, that is, yeah, that's not good. Let me zoom in on this screen a minute so you guys can see it a little bit better.
Mike asked, is that quick dollars or euros? I assume the price of the case.
Is what, sorry?
What's the price you quoted for that case? Pounds?
I didn't quote a price for the case actually, I'm not too sure.
The case, yeah.
Oh, the build? Pounds, yeah. UK pounds. Approximately. Luckily, AMD systems come with a built-in can holder, which is very appropriate.
If you like warm beer.
Yeah. Beer cooled CPU, that's right. Oh crap, I forgot this isn't the magnetic screwdriver. Try and use a magnetic screwdriver, kids. All my magnetic screwdrivers are rubbish actually, I need to buy some more. Oh, that one's a bit better. So me personally, I try and start off in the middle position. Don't put it in all the way, she said. And then, oh crap. Just leave it in there so it holds it in place. And then you can try and get the rest in. It's a bit hard to see actually. But it looks like if you can get one edge or one side done, you normally are okay. Now if you find that the screws don't go in first of all, what you can do is actually, rather than trying to tighten them, if you loosen them off, do you hear that? There's a click. You get to a certain point and there's a click.
Just screw with confidence.
And then you can screw with confidence and make sure it's in the right place. That's a really handy tip actually. If the screw doesn't go in, just loosen it off a little bit. Billy K's sent us in a super chat and he says, just wanted to make the lights go out on you. Thanks. Now I can't see a thing. If anything goes wrong, Billy, I'm holding you personally responsible. Actually, where's my magnet? I've got a magnet here somewhere.
I thought you wanted that thing on your head. That light you wear.
Oh yeah. Oh God, there's another screw. Billy, damn it. Billy, that is unkind. I'm there screwing with confidence and you ruined it. So get a magnet on a screwdriver and it'll give you a little bit more of a little bit more magnetic prowess.
Seaman Knight wants the beer out now.
Seaman Knight wants the beer out? Oh, okay. James Miscellaneous, Mike, please explain how magnets work. Yeah, not very well.
Can you screw the beer in?
Yeah. Oh, I hate these screws. Right. Somebody remind me on the Discord later to go onto Amazon and order some new screwdrivers.
Which graphics card are you using?
Which graphics card? We are currently using the Zotac 1650 Super. And actually, we should say thank you to Zotac as well. Thank you for Zotac for providing that card. They actually provided it for us for review a long time ago, but it keeps on getting used. So Zotac, hopefully you're getting a lot of value for money out of that ROI.
What case model is it?
Case model is the Zotac. Sorry, it was funny. In case is the Zotac Citadel. It's a bit of a weird name for a case, actually, isn't it? Citadel. Reminds me of something out of Half-Life 2.
PC World did it better, Code.
Screw you, Knight. Oh, I've got a screw which isn't wanting to go in. There we go.
E-Technic. Got it now. E-Technic Toolkit.
E-Technic Toolkit. Hello, Kev. Right, so that is our screws done. So check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we had 8 screws. We've got no screws left over. Happy-ish days.
You must have said Zotac case.
Oh, yes, Zotac graphics card. It is a Codelink case. And again, thanks to Zotac, Colink, V-Power, V-Color, and GT Racing. Wow, things is hard, they really are. Anyway, so that is the, that's the motherboard in. Looks pretty sweet. Plenty of room on the side here for action figures or other accessories and decals. So now I suppose all we need to do is to connect up all the power stuff. Although saying that, we could do a little bit of cable management, and probably is actually I think we'll probably put the we'll do the back, do the case wire in, because that can be a little bit of a pain in the arse. So let's pull all this crap out again. This is why a modular power supply is a lot better in this particular instance, because you don't have all this crap to mess around with. But they're much more expensive, so... Oh, that beer is a bit gassy. I do like that.
Trevor asked what got you started on computers?
What got me started on computers? I don't know really. My family in various guises have always been kind of to do with computing or electronics. I don't know. I always used to like messing around with computers as a youngster when I was a boy. Yeah, I don't know. I just quite enjoy it, and I find that I have. Well, I wouldn't say I've got a skill or anything like that, but I do find playing around with computers certainly easier than maybe, I don't know, working on a car or something like that. So I guess that is probably something to do with it. I'm not really an outdoorsy person as such, so being indoors, kind of having a hobby which you can do indoors is helpful. Skydiving doesn't work very well indoors, especially if you do it kind of in a bungalow. That really doesn't work very well. I wouldn't recommend it.
Have you ever had any issues with AIOs leaking?
Have I ever had an issue with AIOs leaking? Yes, I have actually. The Cooler Master one, funny enough, because I bought 4 of them because they were on special offer, and I think one of them or 2 of them leaked. So 50% of them leaked. Yeah, that's probably not the best of odds, is it? Actually, that is bloody awful odds.
C. McKnight said, shout out to British Gas for making sure Mike's unboxing reviews and how-to headquarters stays warm. It's freezing. It's freezing.
It's bloody freezing in here. Mike's unboxing headquarters. Although saying that, it's generally always about 21, 22 degrees in this house, regardless. Which I don't quite know how we've managed to do. Oh,
Joyce of the terrace.
I didn't plug in the 8-pin at the top. Should do that first before I start trying to cable manage it.
Bludgeon our heating from either side.
Yeah, we live in a terrace house, so we just leave our heating off so that the next door neighbours have got colder houses, so they have to turn their heating up so the heat comes through the walls. It's pretty clever.
But when we put our wood burner on it, really.
Yeah, well, when we put our wood burner on, they can feel their wall next door and it feels quite warm. Which is pretty funny. So there is our 8-pin connector. That's yeah, that's fine. Cable management, I'm not going to go too crazy on at the moment because obviously this is a live stream and I don't want you guys to be hanging around here for ever and ever, because ain't no one got time for that. And this is one thing which I thought was going to be an issue, and that is putting through the connections for the HD audio, but there's a really nice cutout just in the right place on this case, although I can hardly see it. I should get my Joby out. That isn't code, ladies and gents. So there's HD audio plugged in at the bottom, and what's that? That's a USB 2.0, which is that one over by there. Bit of Welsh for those of you that may be from that area. Ah, cool. Here's my drink. There we go. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. There's something about Carlsberg which is very nice. Deeply satisfying. Although I am a peasant when it comes to beer. So what have we got here? So we got a, what do we need?
Wouldn't you have more room to work on this in the kitchen?
I would. I wish, no actually I wouldn't, because our kitchen's tiny. Relatively so.
We haven't got an island with Coke on it.
We don't have a kitchen island, we don't have any Coca-Cola on it, and we don't have any crazy dogs or SWAT teams.
They did think Angel was a SWAT team.
Did they?
Yeah.
Mike's been swatted.
And the next rubbish product you get sent goes on the wood burner. Tell the story of the Go-Go's.
Yeah, actually, as a parent, not a particularly good one, but obviously as a parent, our wood burner came in very handy because George at one point was misbehaving quite chronically.
He wasn't, he just left his things on the floor.
And he had Go-Go's, which you may or may not have heard of, little tiny little plastic toys, almost like Lego, but not quite as sharp. And they were left on the floor, and I stood on one, and I saw red, and I just grabbed a handful of Go-Go's and launched them onto the back of the fire. That poor boy's face.
It lit up.
His face did light up. Unfortunately, it was due to the ferocity of the flames from the Go-Go's.
He was horrible. But he never left them on the floor again.
He never left them alone. He never left them anywhere near me again. Oh dear. That's cheered me up.
I can't believe you said he was misbehaving.
He kind of was misbehaving, probably. It's George we're talking about. Actually, no, he's a good lad. Bless him. Right, USB 3. Where have we got ports for that? That is, oh, that's on the side on this one, which is an absolute cluster F. Is there another port? Please,
He
Lou.
pops in and he likes your style.
Who does?
Ugly Bob.
Right, Ugly Bob.
He loves your style with the Go-Go's.
Likes my style with the Go-Go's. Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow and
Go-Go.
destroy these little bastards. Now, do I want this underneath or over?
He didn't actually say like style, he said you bastard lol.
This is a little bit of a, actually, the USB 3 cables are a real pain and they don't bend very well. And the cutout on the back of this is literally, the port is there. So there's not enough room to kind of bend it behind without it being on a weird angle. So I'm gonna have to go underneath and then through.
Our source is concerned that new consoles CPU with less than 8 cores will become obsolete in 1 year. I
don't think they'll ever become obsolete because even though the consoles have got loads of cores and all that kind of stuff, what you got to think of at the moment, mainstream is quad core, realistically at the moment, quad core or above with hyper-threading if possible. And Intel are still selling, and actually AMD for that matter, are still selling dual core processors with hyper-threading. So I wouldn't be overly concerned. It is something to obviously bear in mind, but I wouldn't be losing too much sleep over it. Mind you, I wouldn't lose much sleep over it anyway, because whatever. Right. Oh, this is. I should have worked out the strategy for this cable beforehand.
Ugly Bob's just got in and he's just had the parcel we posted.
Ugly Bob's had a parcel.
Get your kit off and get it on.
So, Ugly Bob, for those of you who do not know, he is a very, very kind benefactor of Mike's Unboxing, and he has supported us on Patreon. And as a Patreon supporter, as a goodwill gesture to those people that do support us at a certain tier, we have sent him a t-shirt, a Mike's Unboxing classic t-shirt.
And a dual action pen.
And a dual action pen. So if you want to be like Bob, not ugly, but if you just want to be like Bob and be generous, you can do. Patreon links are in the video description.
He's got it on.
He's got the t-shirt on. Does it fit? Bob's not only ugly, but he's a bit of a fatty as well.
He's got big arms.
He has got big arms. That was his defense.
Generous Bob.
Generous Bob has been renamed and reborn. See, you do a good thing, good things happen to you. I wouldn't know that because I throw kids' toys in the back of a fire. And I'm still smiling about it now. Bastard. Right, let's get rid of some of this cable.
Probably the most
Detritus.
expensive fuel we've ever used though.
It was, yeah, those Go-Go's weren't cheap, were they? Right, so we're going to need this one. This is our main CPU incoming, main system power. And that's going to slip in, so she said. Which way is that going to go? That's going to go that way. So that'll fold over nicely and go in there. Oh no, it won't, because the extra clips come off. Hey, hey, hey. Went all imitate on the Go-Go's. Exactamundo. For those of you that don't know what that is, many people often comment on a almost daily basis that I look like the guy from The Mummy. Now, me personally, I think that's cool. I'm happy with that. And actually, if he ever wants to do a cameo on the channel, if you're watching, I can't remember what his name is now.
He could be a stunt double.
He could be my stunt double for when I got to do some particularly bad cabling. Wow, talking of which, I've just done that. Why is that so
Not Carl Pilkington,
twisted?
then.
Carl Pilkington.
Or Vern Troyer.
Yeah, Vern Troyer, Carl Pilkington, who else do we get?
Like Moby.
Kurt Moby.
Ah, what's that tune?
Go.
Not like Dr. Evil.
That's better. These cables, although they are flat-ish cables, they're not that flat.
You won't go on there.
And that kind of works. That's better.
Maybe.
I'm quite looking forward to getting this up and running, actually, because it's a pretty, quite a potent setup, really, for realistically for what it costs. Most people, if you say I want a gaming PC, what are you looking at price-wise, realistically? Most people, at the back of their minds, are thinking it's kind of like it's $1,000, isn't it? Realistically, most people are going to be budgeting about £1,000 for a gaming PC, but you don't necessarily need that amount of money. Well, obviously it's nice if you can, but you don't necessarily need it. But something we do definitely need is some SATA power. So let's plug in one of these SATA connectors, which is the shortest one, that one. Look at the state of that one, that one's huge. I could almost plug that into my other PC. That's insane. I am tempted to chop off some of these wires, but you never know, I might have to return it to Amazon. And yeah, they probably wouldn't be too happy about that. Let's get some cable ties on it, or some tweezers.
What is the price of the PSU used?
Price of the PSU, I actually paid a little bit extra because I wanted it same day from Amazon. So I did pay a premium for it. So I paid £40, which in itself actually for a reasonable power supply, £40 isn't a massive amount of money these days. But I could have picked it up from, I think it was Scan or Overclockers for about 35. But then you do pay a bit of postage on that as well. So kind of swings and roundabouts.
You're getting Luke Goss's dad. Not that I know what his dad looks like.
Luke Goss's dad.
Dr. Evil, Kojak, Matt Lucas, Duncan Goodhue.
Keep them coming. And that's all just Kev.
That was just Kev.
Oh, thanks, Kev.
C. McKnight said Luke's dad. Actually, what about Neil's dad?
Neil's dad. Neil's dad for the in-betweeners. Yeah, chuck that one in there as well. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate it. Right, let's plug this in. Oh, that's a Molex. We definitely won't be plugging that in.
Sorry, but I'm stuck here. I can do my own if.
Stuff. Don't be ill, Angel. It's not allowed these days. That is hurtful.
Who's that porn star they say you look like?
Dad.
Yeah.
It's probably not things my daughter wants to hear.
Who is it?
I can't remember his name, is it? Kev will know.
Can 1660 handle 144 Hz 1440p monitor.
Borderline. Depends Depends what resolution, what graphical settings you're on. Where's the other cable? Oh, it's in there.
Okay.
Do you want some?
No, I'll do my own.
Right, there's my RGB cable. Let's leave that out.
Sorry, Amy. Okay. Just the little one, if you're not using one. Johnny Sims.
Yeah, I think that's it. Right.
Ugly Bob said Ron Jeremy and Kev said bend over.
Right, I'm going to do the front panel connectors now on the other side, which you cannot see, unfortunately. And actually, neither can I. Right, I need my Joby. Where's my Joby? Oh, actually, that's fine. I've got a bit of light there. So, with your I/O connectors for the front, you've got a block of 9 pins. Normally, it goes from left to right, top to bottom. So, top, the very first pin will be your power LED positive. Next, that will be power LED minus. Next, that is power switch, plus or minus, doesn't make any difference. So that's pins 3 and 4. Underneath that, your first 2 will be hard drive LED positive, hard drive LED negative, and next that is reset switch, plus and minus. Again, they don't really make a difference which way they're around.
Oh,
And that is generally the same on pretty much everything.
there you go, babe.
Does that mean the Merciless?
No, that's Hood from the Thunderbirds.
Ah, another one to add to the collection
That's a good one.
of monstrosities. Ah, that's what I remember about these. Now, these co-link power switches and connectors, I do recall this actually, they're not very good and they don't want to stay on. The pins are actually not done well. So, hard drive LED. As long as the power switch ones stay in place, I'm happy with that. Yeah, they're wanting to come off already.
Ugly Bob misses 80s porn where the men were uglier than him.
Yeah, HD hasn't helped out either, has it? High definition.
James Miscellaneous would like that case more if it didn't have that unnecessary depth. I don't know if he's still on about porn now.
Could be. Right, I think that is actually everything connected up now. So, yeah, we're not doing bad. So we've got to connect up the fans now. So the rear fan I'm going to connect up to the back here. I'm sure there is a connector somewhere. And actually, this is one of those weird motherboards that doesn't have a good place to actually connect there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cable up through the top where your CPU power is and pull that around the back, and then we're going to go underneath and I'm going to plug it into one of the chassis fan headers at the bottom if there is enough length, which there might be, and yes there is. So that is a top tip. If you can't attach it anywhere, use that. Oh, not a darts player as well. I suppose that's copyrighted. Let's get some RGB on the go. So we've got a 3-pin RGB connector, and where can we take that through? There is a...
Make sure it's not that PCIe cable.
Yeah. J Rainbow is there. Now the rainbow connector for this one, or the RGB connector, is right at the top in a really awkward place. At least it is in this one, because there's not actually a lot of height available on the top of this case. It is quite squat. So that is the RGB done. So we've got our CPU fan, so we've got another 2 headers here for a system fan and a system fan. So that's going to make a lot of sense. So if we put the top system fan, excuse me, into the top system fan connector on the top of this board, and then the one from the bottom We'll put that into the next one along. Unfortunately, this isn't as neat as I'd have liked it to have been, but I can always tweak it a little bit later. I suppose really you could have just used the fan headers, but actually that's not too bad so far. If you guys can see that, it's, looks pretty clean. Not bad. Just need to, I think that's pretty much it for the wiring actually. Everything's cleanly done there. Again, I'll sort out the wiring at a later date. Actually, I'll spin it right now so you can see how horrendous it is. It's not totally unmanageable, just a bit of bunching up down there. That would look absolutely fine. Again, most people are going to put a case on, sides on. I am going to be taking these fans out, like I said, to replace them with the InWin, the Saturn fans at some point. So I'm not going to go too crazy cable managing it because it's all going to have to come out anyway. So yeah, not too bad.
Said, is that CWT PSU worth anything? £25 on Amazon, smells like a system going bust at some point.
The CIT one, which one's that? The Pro?
I'm not sure.
Those CIT power supplies, the Pro versions, the ATV Pro, are actually like really good. They're again exactly the same as the CWT. CWT actually make them for so many people. Like I said before, ThermalTake, EVGA, Antec. Who else was there? Corsair, and loads of others. So don't be well. It's fine if you want to like go with a certain brand because they're well known or whatever. That's totally fine. Go for it. And they obviously quite often they will actually offer a slightly better warranty than the OEM would, just to add a little bit of perceivable value. But it's not entirely necessary. It really isn't, especially if you're looking at a relatively low-end system. Like this power supply has got, I think it's about 38 amps on the 12-volt rail, which again is almost identical to the ThermalTake Smart Power, the CX500, the EVGA B series, I think it is. So it's, yeah, don't get het up with it. Everyone's like, oh yeah, you got to have a gold rated power supply. A gold rated power supply only really saves you money. That is all it does. It just means it's more efficient, and the efficiency rating for bronze to silver to gold to titanium is, I think it's less than 10% between the three.
Yeah, it's stuff for that.
So it's not a massive amount of money, and considering a gold or titanium power supply is going to cost you at least double that of a bronze or a gold, probably not a gold, but bronze power supplies, again, this is like a 40 quid power supply. If I wanted a titanium one, it's going to be in excess of 100 quid. And I'm not going to save that much money on electricity over that amount of time. At the same wattage, with the same components, it isn't going to save that much money. So it's one of those marketing things which we've all kind of been suckered into. Happens all the time. That is what marketing is all about. That's what it was designed for when they started doing marketing, is to convince people that they needed something that they didn't necessarily need.
There's another one, Rob Cross.
Rob Cross? Oh, another bloody dartist. Right, let's tuck that away. Let's tuck that in there, as the transvestite said to the Pope. Let's get that back on there. Is that lined up there? Yes. You can, if you want to, in this case, you can vertically mount a GPU. Unfortunately, the vertical GPU mount, which I was going to put in here, I realised that I actually sold in a PC that I've got rid of recently, so yeah, it's not going to happen.
Rich says he's still more confident in the lifespan of the more expensive.
That's totally, yeah, a more expensive power supply, in theory, should give you that peace of mind that it's going to last a little bit longer. That is essentially what it's for, but depending on how long you're going to keep your PC, if you're going to keep your PC for more than 2 or 3 years in its configuration, then yeah, why not? But there's quite a lot of people who are builders or tinkerers or ones that like to flip systems, and chances are most people aren't going to keep their PC in its configuration for more than 2 years or so. I don't think, personally. And the way things are going, power supplies are going to need to get bigger and bigger for these new graphics cards. AMD and NVIDIA both are looking to be releasing higher wattage power supply, higher wattage cards, which are probably going to need bigger power supplies. So I think the current kind of thing where 500 is kind of like the average or doable, I think that's going to jump up to about 600 very, very shortly.
British says 1,000 watt platinum or nothing.
1,000 watt platinum is nice if you got the money for it. Is that a system fan? Oh, I think I've just put that in the wrong place. That's what I did. I put that into pump fan. I forgot there was that there as well. So yeah, I've made a mistake already on my wiring, so I was just checking. You should check your wiring if you can. Pick up any mistakes before you boot up. So I actually had one of those fans actually on the front there, plugged into the CPU pump fan. So that would have been running at 100%, which would have made this incredibly noisy. What is the one thing that we don't like our PCs to be? Yeah, incredibly noisy. Incredibly noisy does not get its vote from me, that's for sure. There we go, that's better. So, I think that looks all right. Pretty clean looking. Not sure about that label on the side of the power supply now though. See if we can remedy that pretty easily.
I roll it in. And
Let's OEM the shit out of this power supply. Thank you, cheap ass power supply. Oh, there's a little bit of a mark left on there. Here's my Sharpie.
Is the rear I/O shield tab in the USB socket?
Who said that?
Sneaky.
Let's have a look. I think so. Is the rear USB tab? No, it doesn't appear to be.
Shield tab.
No, it's definitely bent backwards. So, tell you what I'll do. If I grab a USB stick a minute and oh, Kath, can you grab me a USB stick, please? Kath. Up there.
Oh, sorry.
Damn it. So we don't drop tempered glass. Not a good idea. Anything I do, buy this one, it's fine. Okay. So, USBs, so we'll check those. Is that running the right way? Yeah. Yep, no problem. Yep, no problem. No problem. Yeah, we're all good. That's a good check. If you have got anything bent around, those can cause shorts actually, and we have seen that on our Discord quite a few times actually, more times than you'd expect, where people have built systems up and unfortunately not tucked those things in properly. Right, let's get that back panel on. It's probably tempting fate actually putting the back panel on already, but I think we tempted fate the moment I set the video to go live.
PC roll did it quicker.
PC roll did it quicker?
Yeah, both.
They did actually. 2 hours they did theirs. No, hang on, I've done mine. What time do we start? 5:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, true, 2 hours. He didn't have a graphics card and he didn't boot it up to start with. Seamanite says, beer spin on the CPU cooler coming. Okay, I have to finish this first. Right, we'll be needing this. And we'll definitely be needing this. It'll go that far. Bang. And we'll be needing that. Top tip, don't plug your HDMI cable into the motherboard. If you've got a motherboard with APU graphics, it'll try and boot from that and it'll disable the card. So make sure you plug your HDMI into the GPU. So that's why you bought it. Oh, I had a USB there, didn't I? If the back panel fits, the cable management is good enough, says Matthew Day. I agree entirely. Why is this all moving around? Come on, get out of the bloody way. Let's move my Mike's Unboxing mug. My trusty assistant is not assisting. And we'll put in the El Donglo.
Alexa says if it doesn't fit, a hammer and duct tape will fix it.
Yeah, that is very, very true.
Mike says you're using DRAMless SSD for boot drive. That's going to suck if you write a lot.
I don't think the A80 is. I think the A60 is the DRAMless one. I could be wrong there. Although saying that, if it is, oh, actually, yeah, that is the one that uses HBM, so it uses some of the system's internal memory. So yeah, DRAMless isn't as big a deal as it used to be.
And C McKnight says remove Mike unboxing mug. Nope, still see him though.
Oh yeah.
Did you have to look?
I did.
Rory says, is it them or you never have enough space on the workbench?
No, I don't. This isn't a workbench, it's a table. So that's the, there is the system.
Don't forget the power switch on the back. Ugly Bob's been evil.
Ugly Bob. Now build it with the lights off. I tried that. Is the power switch on the back?
I don't know. I'll have to have a look in a minute.
Oh, let's just try it anyway. Yeah, it must be. Where's it gone?
Is Ugly Bob broken? No.
Hey, there we go. And it is alive. Just about.
Weird silence.
Oh crap, that was a bad idea. There we go. We have can spin.
Sound like a McDonald's milkshake.
It's like a calf trying to drink a McDonald's milkshake. Oh dear.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Seamanite, yes, I am a man of his word.
The letter's never seen that on the live stream before.
Yeah, there was actually some lager left in there, so that could have been dangerous. Actually works better now. Hold on, it's too fast.
Can you make me pottery?
Let's get that back out there.
Mike says he's never had a good experience with DRAMless drives for boot drives.
There we go. So the system's up and running. So we've got our RGB fan in the back there. Our RGB RAM. And it's all looking rather marvellous.
All famous in the area got drawn to the sound of the spinning can.
Yeah. Right, Kath, can you turn that camera around to try and get this BIOS screen in for me, please? So that's, I think that's fine. You guys at home happy with that? Does that work for you? Let us know in the chat. Seamanite says the can spin will work much better on a custom fan curve. It probably would. Right, let's take a look at the BIOS then. Although I can't really see it.
Bob don't like that space in between the first and second RAM stick.
Bob, piss off. Right, now I definitely can't see the screen at all. Sorry guys, you're going to have it slightly off an angle. Let's turn my keyboard on. So first thing we want to do is look at our XMP profile. So actually let's go into advanced, and what else we got? So AHCI straight RAID. We want that to be, don't want that on. AHCI, that's what we want. UEFI, that's fine. And I can't see much going on here.
Lovely Bob is absolutely triggered. You could slide some toast in that gap.
Bob, go away! Right, advanced mode. So, sorry, I'm going to have to turn this around a bit because I can't see a thing. Oh, actually, that's better. If I turn that round, I can see that. That's all good. So let's go into settings and do some bar stuff. So system status. So time and date is, yeah, that's fine. That looks absolutely fine. And it's recognized our M.2 drive. So silicon power, M.2 PCIe SSD. And our BIOS version is, I'm not sure if that's English or American date. So that is BIOS version 95200, so I have to remember that for later. It's recognizing our RAM, so physical memory 16.38, yada yada yada. So yeah, that's all looking good.
Steve McKnight thinks you need your glasses on.
I probably do actually.
Can I just interrupt 1 minute? Kieran has asked, in a situation where you'd have a 240mm AIO in there, would you have rear fan as intake or just go full negative pressure?
Yeah, probably intake, yeah, switch it around. So XMP wise, we've got our memory set to mode 2, which is DDR4 4000, which you guys probably can't see particularly well, but I do apologise. Blah blah. And retry failure, we'll have that on 2 just in case. That's all looking okay. So in advanced, or sorry, boot, we want the UEFI hard disk yet. That's number 1, so that's fine. I don't think there's actually anything on the drive as it is. And post beep. Let's turn post beep on because I quite like post beep. I don't think there's a speaker, but I'll try it. Settings. So where is sorry, advanced. So it's probably load stuff. Turn off the serial port. I don't know why they always have that enabled. That does trigger me slightly. Power management, we'll leave that as it is. Self-test, I've not seen that. Status not supported, so don't know what that is all about. So we'll ignore that.
7C95V23 is current version.
Okay, thank you. So we're a few versions behind. Integrated peripherals.
But that's a beta version.
That all looks absolutely fine. I don't want a beta version. Power management. Restore, yeah, blah blah. System fault power protection, yeah, whatever. To be honest with you, this is going to be absolutely fine. AMD overclocking, yeah, whatever. Accept. Precision boost overdrive set to auto, yep, that's fine. Yeah, we'll leave that as it is. And CPU wise, at the moment, as I say, CPU core temperature is 36 degrees, motherboard temperature 34 degrees. That's absolutely fine. So let's get Windows installed. I have to find it now. I'll run over my microphone again. Now I'm hoping this has actually got Windows on it, because if it hasn't, this is going to be the shortest Windows install ever, because I'm going to have to download the whole 4 gigs of it. So stick that into a USB 3 port, and we should be able to just reboot, I think, from there. So where is save and exit?
Aletta always turns PBO off.
She's into overclocking. Me, not so much. Let's see if we can get some Windows installed on this bad boy. GT Racing.
RAM RAM speed still showing 2666.
Oh, did it? Maybe it didn't like it. What's it doing? Did it die? Oh no, here we go.
Patience, you must learn.
Patience, you must learn, young Skywalker, said that little green snotty looking thing.
Shrek.
No, Yoda.
I know.
Oh. So I should keep that.
Delivers parcels now.
Channel Well Technologies. God bless them. Right, Windows install. English, English, English. Yeah, that'll do. Install now. I don't think there's anything on this drive. I think it is pretty much a blank drive, which would be nice. I don't have a product key, but if you do want a product key, you can get one from premiumcdkeys.com and use the discount code Mike's Unboxing. Can't resist the lure of a plug, shameless plug. And let's hit next. And custom, no, there's something on there possibly, so we'll delete all the partitions, give us a clean start, and hit next. And there we go, so 1934. See how long it takes to install, hopefully it won't be too long. And in that time I can actually look at what some of you people, you good people in the audience are saying.
Are you sure you've done it right? The usual bloke Kev watches has only got the cooler attached by now.
Yeah, that's right. A certain Mr. Anthony Law says new build of Windows is out. It is actually. I wish I'd have done that first of all. Ricardo says, Mike, did you forget to activate the UEFI? No, don't think so. I think that was already activated, or at least sort of activated. James Miscellaneous says, time to load the malware.
One above, what's that mean?
Joker says, RAM speed doesn't need to be set to DOCP? Question mark. It should do. If it hasn't done already, I'll check it when it comes into Windows. Hopefully it's saved the setting, but if not, then I'll go back into it. It might be they didn't like the XMP level 2, it might need to be XMP level 1. So restart time, so at this point we can remove our USB stick, because that is the USB stick's part done. Part 2.
If you order an OEM tray processor from Amazon, I wonder how and when it gets packed for individual shop shipping.
Yeah, not sure actually, yeah. It's a good question.
Premium keys are OEM or retail?
Premium keys are kind of OEM but kind of retail at the same time. They appear as retail when you actually have it set up, but they aren't as easily transferable as the real retail version, which is like £240. So for the sake of saving £245, it's I'd rather buy another CD key if I transfer a system and it doesn't activate. Generally, it will activate.
Are the debug lights still on?
Debug lights will still be on at the moment because it currently is getting ready and it's not fully booted. So I think it probably does stay on until it's fully booted. Yeah, it's currently still on. Which one can fit? Oh, it's rebooted again because it's going through the setup process. They should settle down very shortly. Well, actually, what do you think of the fans? Considering I'm kind of, well, 10, 12 inches away from the fans, they don't seem very noisy. They're actually putting through quite a lot of air.
They think you should have in-win ones in?
They think I should have in-win ones. I think I should have in-win ones in, to be honest.
No, they didn't.
Come on, Windows.
for 4000 not be slower with the Infinity fabric?
It kind of will, but it kind of won't at the same time. Some things benefit, some things don't.
I see McKnight, so.
The Infinity fabric, there is a sweet spot in the Infinity fabric, which for certain things like games and things like that, are relatively important.
Daisy.
But for Windows overall snappiness, I think that the Infinity Fabric, what it loses with the higher RAM speeds, it gains in responsiveness. Let's connect. Oh, Kath,
Yeah.
I need to do my thing on that. Actually, it's all right. I should be able to do it.
Kind of.
Tell me if it's in there right on the screen.
I don't know. I can't see. It's not. Oh, so.
What you got your hand out like that for?
Because I want to use a mouse to see it. 'Cause
Wally.
it's just dots.
Oh, all
They
right.
don't come up with letters at the same time.
Oh, so it's not there. It's not there now. Oh, that'll do. Let's see if it works. Do you want your PC? Yeah. Hey, that works. Blind typing. I should be a letters ghostwriter. Skystalker says, oh, actually, I've gone too far. Are the debug lights still on? Not sure. Oh, hang on. Click on next.
Yeah, but that was previous.
Okay.
Smakey thinks the front fan should be slid up a bit.
What's that? The front fan should be slid up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is actually, the top fan is a little bit low. Could be doing with moving up an inch or two. Yeah, I would agree with that.
3800 on Zen 2 for best IF.
Right, set for personal use. And offline account. Limited experience. Who's going to use this PC? Oh, I don't want to put a username in really, but call it stream. That'll confuse things. Create a memorable password. Let me see. Oh, enter. No, don't use online, blah, blah, blah. No. No. Wouldn't it be good if they just had a no to all? That'd make life so much easier. No. 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 No, don't want device history. No. There we go. That's not too bad. 6-7 minutes. And Windows will be allegedly ready in several minutes. This would be a bit faster if we were on wired. The Wi-Fi might be a bit down. Actually, what's that? I'm sorry, I'm getting a weird message from YouTube Studio. Error, there is not enough... YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering.
Yeah, my phone's... Oh, I think my phone's just gone flat.
What's going on? Are we back on dial-up? Is it working? You see my hands?
That's working on here, isn't it?
Oh yeah. We're running short on scorpions. And there we go. We should be back. It's all the ABBA that Kath's downloading.
I'm not downloading anything. My phone has gone flat even though it's charging.
It's back. Seems better now. Okay, that's good news because I've done absolutely nothing. And that's always a good sign. Doing nothing and then for it to get better is good. Still got an error there, but what the hell. Screw you. Yeah, so that's Windows installed in about 7 or 8 minutes, so that isn't too bad. So first things that you do when you get your Windows installation installed is really you should be getting drivers, all that kind of stuff. Check for updates, those kind of things. So I think probably the best thing for us to do now is if we get some drivers installed, which is actually very difficult to see. So we want to go to amd.com/support. And then we'll go to drivers and support. And don't want to do auto detect because that's useless. So most people at this point would be like, oh yeah, create graphics drivers. No, chipset drivers are far more important. And on B550, so hit submit. And there's a new version of the chipset drivers, so we'll download those now. And we'll save that. And we'll probably find that the NVIDIA drivers are actually downloading in the background anyway. Put your hand to your mouth.
I did.
You didn't. You know your lips flapping.
You in comments?
I'm looking at comments yet. Here we go, 30 to 60 minutes of updates. Yeah, unfortunately not. Well, hopefully not, rather.
Zico said, how do you connect the ARGB fans?
The ARGB fans are connected to a hub, which is in the back, and then that is connected in turn to a single connection going into the motherboard itself. I'm not sure if video on demand is available quite yet, but you can see it a little bit earlier in the video. Is it really windy out? Kath? Is it really windy out?
Don't think so. I'm meant to know.
Well, you can hear it and you're next to the bloody window.
Well, you can hear it from the fire more so than...
Maybe that's what it is then. Can hear something. It's not this.
It's probably my computer. That's the only thing I can hear.
Could be.
How long to take off Bing? Your debug light is still on.
Is it? Where's my debug light on? Can't even see which one that is. Where's my bright light thing?
Do you need to get your goggles?
So CPU, DRAM, VGA. Looks like it's a CPU light. No, CPU. That's the boot light for some reason. Maybe it's long to say it's booted.
Daniel Hutchinson's in.
Hello, Daniel Hutchinson. Hello, Smacky.
Smacky or Smakey?
Seamanite says, do yourself a favour and don't install Dragon Center. James Miscellaneous, Mike strategically angled the PC to hide the horrendous RAM gap. Well played, Mike. You bastards. Absolute bastards. The RAM gap is annoying. And it's not the sticks, it's the motherboard. Weirdly, the first slot is a fraction further away or angled slightly differently. I may have to get the heat gun out on it and weld it back into place. Well, actually, let's look in the BIOS a minute and see if we can we'll change that RAM speed to, actually, what was it saying? Oh yeah, DDR speed 4000. So we'll change it to profile 1. And save changes and reboot. See if that makes the light go out. I don't think it will do. Although saying that, it looks like it has. Motherboards are very contrary. No, you should be able to see it if it's on. Yeah, you can see it now. It's come on. Oh no, you can't.
Just about to see it now.
Yeah, wrangle it round a bit more. It boots up pretty quick. Right, let's get Chrome on there.
Yeah, that glare is hiding it.
Chrome.
Kieran Atkinson said, I suppose I should upgrade to a 500 series board. 5000 I assume, or is it? No. Question is an X570 worth it, or are we all waiting for the Z590?
X590 might appear
Sorry, then he's put X670.
Oh, X670, yeah, that might appear also. Although that's likely to be on DDR5.
Noah Ramos is here.
Finally made it to a stream. Hi, Noah. Right, let's see if there's loads of Windows updates going in the background. So we've got updates galore. And actually, which version are we on? Let's try where are we? Command line and run as administrator. Yeah. And WinVer. So Windows version is Windows 10 version 2004. So it is actually a pretty recent version. I didn't think I had that on that memory stick, so that's awesome. We like that, although there's still a few updates to do. Could be worse. Seamanite, yes, it probably is. It should have been. It would have been better practice to do most of the Windows updates. If you're using a version older than 1909, then doing your chipset drivers first will definitely give you issues, because 1303 and 1303 Part 2 weren't particularly good for that. But 1909 onwards seems to be less problematic. If it wasn't for the fact that I know how to fix the problems, then I probably would have done the entire Windows updates first and let Windows download drivers in the background anyway. But yeah, Seamanite does raise a particularly valid point now. Always try and do your Windows updates first before you start chucking stuff on. Apart from maybe Chrome and the new Edge. Close all tabs, yeah, close all. Mike says X570 versus B550. The X570 has PCI Express 4 through the chipset. B550 doesn't. That's basic major difference. It is quite a difference. It's not a huge one for a lot of people. For gamers, it doesn't make any difference at all, really. And unless you're benchmarking or looking for bragging rights, it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. For things like moving files around the system, then that's when it comes into its own. Like if you're doing video editing like me and you're moving files, big files around the system from drive to drive, that can make a difference. Welcome to the new Microsoft Edge. Woo. Oh well, Edge is alright, we'll stick with Edge, we don't necessarily need Chrome. And the debug LED is out. Yes, it is. So maybe it was to do with the RAM being at the XMP2 rather than XMP1. Even though both XMPs in the BIOS were exactly the same speeds, or at least it appeared to be exactly the same speeds. They are very odd. Oh yeah, Kieran Atkinson says, yeah, I'm the chipset fan, going back to the X570 stuff. And Noah, at that price, $200 for a 2080, yeah, rip its hand off. Don't worry about what processor you got or what RAM you got, just buy it. You could easily buy it and then resell it for 300 or 400. Aletta says, meet the new Edge, just like the old Edge. Seamanite says, Ryzen Master. I don't normally use Ryzen Master. I don't really do a great deal of overclocking, if any, and I don't really monitor the temps in anything other than either CPU-Z or hardware monitor, which I find okay. I guess if you're going to do a bit of overclocking and you want to get a bit more of your system, then Ryzen Master is worth doing. Although I do seem to find that Ryzen Master is a little bit hit and miss on whether it decides to work on boot up or not. I know you can change it. It seems to be a little bit of a memory and system hog as well, because it's monitoring everything in kind of real time. So there is a little bit of a kind of latency involved with it, I think. But for benchmarks and stuff, it's a really good idea. James Miscellaneous says, rotate the AMD logo on the stock cooler fan. We can remedy that very, very easily. There we go, we've got nothing to worry about now. It's all good. No AMD logo to be concerned. That's going to trigger someone, surely. Hide. There's a lot of RGB in this shot. Actually, I suppose we should see if the updates are done yet. Your device is missing. Oh, it's alright, it's just doing that update, so that's at 74%.
Did you see what Steve McKnight wrote earlier?
What was that?
I'm out of touch with it all now because I don't know. Is it not better to practice Mr. Churchill's doing?
Oh, yes.
You saw that, okay.
Yes. Let's get some hardware monitor on here.
No, it's triggered.
No, it's triggered, because I coloured in the AMD logo. That's right, it's only Sharpie, it'll come off. It won't. Setup English. Download in English. And this is really not easy to see. What does that say? Oh, open, that'll do.
I have got a pink Sharpie at C McKnight. I have a whole rainbow.
Kath has got rainbow Sharpies, and it isn't just the way she walks.
It's the way my trousers hang.
Let's have a look at some temps. At the moment in this room, I'd say it's probably about 21, 22 degrees. That's what the central heating's set for. So at the moment we have got, oh, I've scrolled the wrong way. At the moment, the CPU is at 47 degrees, which is a little bit higher than I would have liked it, but then it is installing updates at the moment, so I suppose that is to be expected. It's not entirely idling, but it certainly is a little bit warmer than I would have liked. It's dropping down now, it's 45, 47, yeah. It's probably just because it's doing those Windows updates. Those always do hammer the CPU a little bit. So we'll see what that drops down to. It's only maxed at 51C at the moment, so that's not too bad at all. And the CPU is boosting up to 3899 megahertz, so 3.9 gigahertz, which is where it should be. We can overclock it a little bit from that, I think. Actually, 3.9. Is that right? Oh yeah, because I was using the 2200G yesterday, and that's confusing me now, because that was 3.8. So yeah, that's not looking too bad. V-color RAM is at 31 degrees. The GPU is currently, actually makes no difference, does it? Because the sides are on, so it's a bit pointless. GPU is at 31 degrees, 32 degrees. So GPU staying nice and cool. So yeah, not bad at all.
Corky.
CPUZ reports gap in RAM modules and sharpened AMD logo.
And Corky.
Corky. Hi chat, please help. Which AMD Zen 3 CPU is going to be the best bang for your, as in Euro, which site is best bet? UK, Ireland, thank you. Until they actually release the pricing, it's difficult to say. I would think, well, it's got to be the 5600X, but I would personally probably wait until the 5600 is out, or maybe even whatever comes out lower, depending on what you need, what you're using it for. But yeah, the 3600X probably is the kind of the sweet spot for the new range. Whether or not it's going to compete well with the, what would be the, I suppose the Ryzen 7 3700, 3800, somewhere around that range. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out, and it'd be nice to see some specific pricing. At the moment we've seen placeholder pricing, so not entirely sure. Tech Thug Gamer says, I'm back. He's back. Right, is this updated yet? Damn it. Yes, it has. Restart now. So, anything else going on in the background? No, I think we're all good. Let's close that down and do a quick restart.
Noah asked, he has one RX 580 and one RX 480. Is there any way I could do something like an SLI or Crossfire thing or something, just so his RX 570 doesn't just sit on a shelf?
If it's the RX 580 and an RX 480, you possibly could, because they're effectively the same die, just with a tweak. So you might be able to get away with that. Although you might have to flash the 580 to the 480 BIOS or the 480 to the 580 BIOS. What is going on with this thing now? It keeps on saying about it's something wrong with the stream. Let's open that up. What's going on?
Mine seems alright.
YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I don't think I can change the settings, can I, on the fly? Maybe I can. Video. No. No, I can't change that. I cannot change that, unfortunately. Kath, could you get me another beer, please?
Yeah, Yusuf said, please, 3700X or 2700X, and need it for at least 3 years.
3700X then. If you need it for the next, well, I suppose either one would be okay. It depends what you want to do and how much money you got and what the rest of your system is, what your general setup is.
They're all saying stream looks okay.
Stream looks okay? Okay. Okie dokie. Stream welcome. Willkommen. Oh man. This is possibly the most awkward angle I've ever sat at. And I've sat at some awkward angles. What do we want? Microsoft Edge. So we're updated now, so we can go ahead and get our graphics card drivers. So we'll go to nvidia.com.
It's when your new machine is downloading stuff, that's when the frame rates go. And Kev thought you looked like crap, but it was just YouTube changing it to 360.
Yeah, no, I do look like crap, to be fair. Oh, where am I? I'm in the wrong place here, aren't I? Let's go to NVIDIA. Oh, that's right, the drivers, GeForce drivers. Yeah, this is in a bad place.
Alright.
So GeForce, and we are on the, what are we on? Can't remember which model it is now. 16 series. Go right down the bottom of this list now. So product series, 16 series, we've got that. 1650 Super, not 1660, although it makes no difference really. And just start search. And then we can go down and get the game ready WHQLs. Obviously, if you're doing this for your own system and you're video editing or something, then get the studio driver. Oh, what's going on now? I'm not sure. I think it has actually crashed. It has crashed. Unbelievable. Oh no, it's not. Oh, I know exactly what it was doing. It was installing the drivers in the background. I was like, what is going on?
Kev wants less beers and more pens.
Less beers, more
I know you've got
pens.
studies. What is pen today, Kev?
Oh, that is downloading. This is the most awkward angle ever.
Do you want to look at your questions?
I can't even see the questions. Oh, it says the stream is healthy now. Error. Stream healthy, error. No data. Bloody computers.
I meant Noah's question.
Noah, no, I would stay with the Hyper 212 to be honest with you. A used Cooler Master AIO is basically a recipe for disaster. I would never. You think of an AIO as being like buying a used car, and unless it's really cheap, you are always taking a little bit of a gamble with it. Right, that's nearly finished downloading. Our internet is shockingly bad. It really is.
Would an X470 be okay for new Ryzens? All the X570s I'm
Yeah.
seeing are kind of ugly. It's a bit mean to Bob.
You what?
It's a bit mean to Bob,
What is?
comparing Bob to an X570.
I'm confused. What's going on now?
He said X570s are kind of ugly.
James, what have I not realised, James? What did I not see? Oh yeah. Just saw. More fan RPM tests, yeah. Yeah, Cooler Master AIOs are not particularly well known, are they, for being awesome. They're known for being a little bit problematic and a little bit on the leaky side. Right, so we've got chipset drivers installed already. We've got all of our Windows updates. So at this point, and now Windows has actually recognised the graphics card as well, which is always a good sign. So you can then put your drivers on top of that. Try not to do the drivers for the graphics card until the very, very end, or at least when you realise that most things have been done already. So at this point you can do graphics driver and GeForce experience, or you can do graphics driver. I'm just going to do the graphics driver, just because I don't really need the GeForce experience, to be honest. And there's a very strong chance that that graphics card is going to get swapped out for something else anyway, so yeah. I do love the RGB in this case. It's quite understated. I'm not too sure about the RAM though. That is quite overstated. But overall, I think it's actually quite a nice looking little system. Does what it needs to do. It's pretty good. And thank you for the super chat, Glenn, for the 420. Thank you very much. Kath has unfortunately dismissed her post.
Oh, I was doing my tea.
She is trying to cook her tea. It's my fault for streaming for way, way too long.
Angel cooked my tea. I just need to eat it.
There we go. We've got a black screen of death. But we haven't. It's a graphics driver installing, so we're all good. Thank you, Glenn, for the 420. Blaze in. Anthony Law says, I have the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 240. Ugly Bob says, that new mic picks up the gulps great. I'm actually still on the old one. I haven't started using the new one yet. James, I get it. ClickTech Kev says, what's this system going to be for? Selling? No, it's actually going to be... Oh dear. It's going to be going behind me. Removing that one. At least for a little bit. Dave Bell says, take out the fake RAM. It will look way better. What is that thing behind you? It scares me.
Oh, that Star Wars lamp.
Yeah, Star Wars lamp.
Maybe.
Stormtrooper lamp. Right, NVIDIA installer has finito. Right, so let's run a... actually, let's go to the Windows Store, which is always a bad thing. And we will get Cinebench and see where we're at. I'm trying to think what a 3100 normally gets in Cinebench. Not too sure. I might have to look it up. Sign in, no thank you. And install. No, don't want to sign in, so install anyway. So Cinebench is only 230 megabytes thereabouts, I think. So this won't take very long. Although Virgin Media Broadband, not the greatest. Glenn says, what's Kath cooking for tea? What are you having, Kath?
Belly of pork strips.
She's having belly of pork strips currently this evening. Actually, I haven't had my tea yet. Although I had a big dinner. Never mind. British Noob says you're going to need more RGB if it's replacing the one behind you. It's behind you. I don't know. There is quite a lot of RGB, but most of the RGB in that case is just the LED strips at the top and bottom. The rest of it is pretty much the same. It's not a great deal, is it? What's the temperatures like? Oh, we got another super chat come in from the Sky Stalker, who has given us 10 Canadian dollars and says, thanks for the midweek stream, Mike. Great content. Thank you, appreciate that. So I was just reading Bob's comment as well. He says probably 1,000 points. And Glenn is saying that 2350 is the R20 score for the 3100. Bob's having carbs on toast. Or we're having carbs on toast.
I'm having none.
Thank you for the super chat, Sky. Appreciate that.
Belly of pork strips, fat and salt.
Phil White says it's better to download Cinebench from their websites. I have heard that, but I don't understand the reasoning why. Because it's the same program, surely. Never quite understood that. I'm not entirely doubting it, but you never know. Okay, so and we're going to there, and where is it? Keep best score. And yeah, hit it. See what happens. This is where it takes ages. Although I did do this yesterday a couple of times, and in fact, probably about 4 or 5 times on different systems with the Ryzen 3 2200G, and it was horrendous. It took ages.
It's a thinner version.
This was a thinner version.
Cinebench.
It's a thinner version, smaller version. Still should be the same benchmark though, I think. I'll have to look into that. The fans don't seem to be ramping up very much. If at all, actually. Still, the CPU cooler is actually cold to the touch. So it's dissipating heat really well. Obviously I have got the front open, but these are starting to ramp up a little bit now.
The MS Store version is sponsored by Jill Bates.
Jill Bates. Dave Bell says the app has Microsoft overhead. Does it really? Because the Microsoft, it doesn't run in Microsoft. It runs in there as their API. But we might try that, see what comes out. Is this crashed? No. It's a good sign. Come on. How many cores do you need to run this bloody program? Many. Many cores. So what we reckon then? What did Glenn say? 24 something, I think he said, didn't he? And we got 2356. So that is marginally under the iCore 7700K, which gets 2420. So it's about nearly 70 points off of the 7770. So I don't think that's entirely bad. I'll have to scroll back up actually and see what he said it was. Ryzen.
Bless you.
Glenn. Oh yeah, 2350. And what do we get? Yeah, 2356. So pretty much bang on. So yeah, we seem to be performing well. And bearing that's the stock cooler. That's pretty good. And well done to Glenn for guessing or stating so near to it. But just goes to show that it's actually, even though it's a B550 chipset, which isn't the best, and it's a relatively inexpensive board for what it is, and with the stock cooler, it's pretty good. Thanks, J Rich, 2350. I don't know if you guys can actually see that on the screen where it says it, but it does say, well, yeah, 2356 is what we got. So now that it's warmed up a bit, let's do another quick run, although it's never quick, and see if we can actually get a better score on a second run. For some reason, I do find that is the case, that once the CPU is warmed up a little bit, it's almost like it's, when you're training, you're having a quick warm up first of all.
Or taking your choke off your car.
Yeah,
The olden days.
take your choke off.
When you had your option.
Oh, and what were the temps? I should have put the bloody thing on.
Overclock. And what are the temps?
Mike, did you ever see the 1600 AF? I didn't. No, not the 6. I had the Ryzen 5 1600, and I've got a 2600 in that machine. But I've not seen the AF. The only person I only know, I think, one person who's got it, and that's Angry Doge from our Discord. Ugly Bob says I'm going to bench mine now. I'd imagine if we had to guess who would get the best score for R20 here at the moment, of our current viewers, it'd be Billy K, maybe Aletta, and maybe Skystalker. Those, I think, would be the ones in the upper tier. Possibly Skystalker, I think, is a 3900X. I think Billy K is a 3900X, and I'm pretty sure Aletta is a 3900 or a 3950, possibly. Anyway, let's see what happens. We generating any warmth yet? No, cooler's still cold to the touch, although that doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't still generating heat. And bear in mind, actually, I haven't gone into the MSI software or the BIOS and actually configured the fan profiles or anything like that, and it's just doing precision boost overclocking. So, wonder if we get a faster score the second time.
Ugly Bob, 3102.
Oh, it's not bad.
And Glenn, 5.5k.
Did I just get exactly the same score again? That's finished, hasn't it? Yep, exactly the same score again. Fantastico.
Do you hear me say?
Yes, I think so. So Ugly Bob got 3102. And what chip's that with, Bob? Skystalker gets 7,200. And Glenn's got 5.5k maxed out on his 3800X. Right, Aletta's got the 3800X OC to 4.5 gigahertz. Ugly Bob's got the Ryzen 3600. That's some pretty interesting scores there. Pretty decent. So, well, it's working, it booted, and yeah, I think I'm relatively happy with it. Not too sure exactly how it is going to work out with that graphics card in there. There is a little bit of a noise, I'm not sure. I'll take my mic off a bit. Let's see if you can actually hear it. So So there is there's a bit of noise coming from that. Don't know if, is that picking up? And the front fans aren't too bad at all. Mostly just wind noise. Letter says she's now got to get a 5950X to catch up. Oh, I forgot I got the remote control, haven't I? So I do have a remote control, so I can actually control the lights, so I can set it to white. Obviously it's not going to change the RAM because that's done on the motherboard. Red, green, that's not green, that's teal or turquoise. There's green, purple, and set it to auto and it does all kinds of crazy funky stuff.
You can adjust fan curve too.
Fan curve, I don't know if I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it on if you guys want to see what the BIOS is actually like in a little bit more depth, I can try and find my HDMI adapter to see if it'll do it. But I don't know if it will because I've got my camera plugged in. It might just push it over the edge.
Bloody glass again.
Oh yeah, I forgot I got the glass. I'm going to put the glass back on actually.
As long as it don't reflect too poor.
Oh, damn it. Oh, didn't like that. This is where you put your arm on the top and you lean on the power button as you're putting the case on. They haven't offset these pins, so it's really difficult. I might actually have to Dremel off part of the hinge on there.
Night, baby.
Night. There we go.
Thank you, sweet. One cookie, but I don't want to. Hi, Maisie. Usual cuddle for me.
There we go. There you go, you can see a little bit of bling-tasticness. I don't know why it does that flashing stuff. It's very bizarre. I think that front fan definitely needs to be raised up a little bit though. Mike says, check the thermals with the side panel on and run R20 multi-times and leave up hardware monitor. I'll tell you what I will do. If I put on CPU Z, because that's a more sustained load. And, oh God, I can't see a thing. Looks like there's loads of updates for the Windows Store as well. Happiness. So let's do CPU Z. CPU Z. Hey Chris Cubes. James says, cute little PC. It's not bad. I can't see the screen. Let's put that around. Hopefully there's no reflecto porn so you can see lovely young Catherine. And install. Let's see if we can get some heat out of this thing.
Letter's top temp is 56.
56?
Yeah.
That's going to take some
Did you update
unbeaten.
BIOS, Anthony asked?
No, I haven't updated the BIOS as of yet. Although actually saying that I should have done because I got the BIOS flashback button, so At some point I must have done.
I think you did in a video.
Because I did the video. Okay, so currently CPU is idling about 30, where are we? 35 is the lowest is recorded so far, with the case closed. And if we go into, where are we? SPD, memory. Cheers, Glenn, see you in a bit. The memory frequency is at 99999.8. And it's got CL20 there. I'm sure it shouldn't be CL20. No, it should be CL19. There you go. Right, bench. Let's stress the CPU.
Noob wants more building streams. He's loving this so far.
Thank you, Noob. I would do more building streams, but I just can worry that it's basically quite boring for you guys watching it. It's just the same thing over and over. But if you like it, I'll do them. So far, it's kept me entertained. Right, this is, again, stock cooler. We've got some reasonable airflow. Let's not be kind of disingenuous about this. So the cooling in this, is going to help considerably. I think that is a given.
You make different mistakes every time.
That's a good point. Who said that?
Dave Bell.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate your honesty and forthrightness. Mike, did you load XMP? Yes, XMP version 1. And Dave Bell says you make mistakes, different mistakes every time. That is actually very true. We do make a lot of mistakes. But to err is to be human. Is that the famous quote? Right, currently we are at 64 degrees C. And so far there doesn't appear to be any throttling, so all 4 cores running at 3899, so 100%, and the percentages don't appear to be dipping. 64 degrees on a stock cooler is actually not too bad.
Can you move
and
it
under a full load.
Screen, you might see it better.
Not really.
No, the actual box.
Which side of the screen?
To this side.
No, I don't think it'll stretch. So 64 degrees where we're going to stop.
If gear down mode is on CL, always goes to the next upper even number.
Right, we are climbing a little bit. Seen another degree on there, so 65 degrees now. Still no obvious throttling, which it won't do because it's way under the thermal throttle limitations.
Can you play Flight Sim on it? Ugly Bob's asking for Waldo.
That is the intention, actually, to put Flight Sim 2020 on there and see what it runs like on this particular platform. To be honest with you, I think it's going to run pretty much exactly the same as it did on the Ryzen 5 2600 with the RX 570, maybe even a little bit better. In theory, because this has got a higher clock speed per core, even though it's got less cores, I think it should be alright. Which would be odd, because it's actually a considerably cheaper platform.
What MHS is it running?
Where's my speed? What's the memory one? What megahertz? What the processor? Processor's running at 3.9 gigahertz. Still across all 4 cores currently. So it's maintaining that upper clock boost, what it's allegedly capable of. And it seems to have leveled out now at 65 degrees and it doesn't actually seem that noisy considering it's a stock fan. And there isn't really, so as I take the filter off the top, we might drop a couple of degrees. That is one thing which actually always does help. If you take off the top mesh fans, mesh grill filter, that's the one I was looking for, filter. We'll see if that drops a couple of degrees.
Until you said it completely wrong for me to even notice.
Yeah.
Is the R3 a stopgap for the Zen 3?
It is and it isn't. The R3 isn't really, well, some people would consider it a stopgap. I actually find it to be a really capable little processor, and unless you're actually doing something particularly demanding, or you really must have a certain amount of frames in the games you're playing, then realistically it's a really good chip. If you think of it in comparison, it is a comparative processor to the Intel i7 7700K for all intents and purposes, as in clocks and general performance in a lot of things. So for most people, I think it's, well, it would have been a flagship processor if it was 3-4 years ago, for sure.
It means for you though.
For me personally, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's always nice to have a newer, faster, more core processor, but it generally gets the job done, which is normally what we're just trying to achieve.
Mike says Flight Sim doesn't care about amounts of cores. They messed up that using DX11 and multi-threading is broken on their engine. So Flight Sim 2020 should be really good due to the fact that Microsoft and their cohorts have basically screwed up the game. Well, they haven't screwed it up because I guess most of it is quite GPU centric anyway. So we're still at 65. We haven't dropped anything, but we haven't gained anything. So, and the airflow coming out of the top of here is actually still pretty chilly. It's a little bit warmer over this side. Because we've got some positive pressure. It's relatively cool air coming out through there. Here is a little bit warmer where our VRMs and stuff are. It feels pretty good. Ugly Bob, it was the Zotac 1650 Super. Yeah, the 3300 would have been better, but essentially not available at all. Just to demonstrate how much pressure there is, air pressure on this, the cigarette paper test. So that is being held on there pretty well. And on the sides, not so much, as you'd expect, because there's not a great deal of draw on the other side. Not a lot there at the bottom. Probably is going to be just slightly offset to the fans themselves. So there should probably be, yeah, not a lot there. So you don't necessarily need mesh to be the entire front of the case. Is what this is actually a really good demonstration of. Obviously, it will let in a smaller amount of air around the sides, but it isn't the be-all and end-all. So if you've got maybe a case with a mesh front which just has a central channel down here, it doesn't necessarily mean it's choked because the rest of it is blanked off. It just means that it's not going to be potentially as good. So even at this sort of acute angle, just off anywhere offset of the fans isn't going to be as good. Oh, where the hell did that go? Oh, there it is. Ricardo's on.
Thanks, Ricardo. See you later. We still at 65? Still at 65 degrees. Does it float?
A little bit, I think. Can't see it from the camera angle.
I think I've just changed the camera angle. So it's kind of, yeah, it's skating around a little bit. There is quite a lot of air coming through there. More so towards this front section. Yeah, there. Yeah, there from where the CPU is, just kicked it right off.
C McKnight wants Eugenie Heaven and Cinebench R20 though.
We just did our 20.
You weren't watching then.
So temperatures as we see now is 65 degrees C still at 3.9 gigahertz, and we're still, what do we get in that? So actually that's quite interesting, that the CPU multi-thread test on CPU Z isn't much different than the Cinebench R20 results. So 2624. So we're not a million miles off what we had before. What did we have before? 25, 30?
I won't listen.
Something like that. So it's actually not too far off.
Ugly Bob wants some noob lycra shorts.
Alright, let's see how quickly that recovers. 57, 55, 52, 51, 50, 49, 48, 46, 45, 44, 53, 50, 49, 48, 47. It's dropping. Okay, what did Seamanite say? Did he say he wanted...
Eugenie Heaven and Cinebench R20, and then Mike said load Heaven.
Right, let's
CPU Z and Heaven.
let's stick Heaven on.
I might want some load like done at the same time.
I can't do a load at the same time because I haven't got them on here. I will actually revisit this in a separate video.
Let us just remember that she had Minecraft and Beam NG loaded in the background.
Free download for Windows. Right, that'll take a few seconds to download.
What's its single core score?
For Cinebench, don't know, didn't do it because it takes way too long. Which I should have done, I suppose, really, but there you go.
Mike says in CPU Z it's probably around 490 to 500.
Yeah, I would have said probably. Well, actually, it's, we can probably find that out. That's not a difficult one to do. The single core. Is it still open? Oh, I've still got Cinebench open as well. Oh, great! I got that Windows bug where the start menu stops working.
Oh, is that what happens? Fine.
Yeah.
Or it's just my CPU
CPU Z. We'll do a quick single core, see what comes out. How's the figures looking, Kath, for this promotional video?
Yeah, not too bad.
That isn't particularly promotional.
5,350 views.
How many?
5,350.
That's not bad. Right, bench CPU, let's do the bench. So, 2600. You do find with these quick benches, they don't actually give you a particularly accurate feel because when it kind of gets to its thermal thing, it will push a bit further and it'll keep on pushing if it can. So you don't always get a particularly good result in the quick test, but that got a 466 in the single, which is pretty much where I thought it'd be. I think the Ryzen 7 1700 used to get about 410, 420. I could be completely wrong. It has happened before. Hey, who stuck those lights on red? Is that me? Purple. The royal colour. Actually, what colour looks best? That's a bit weird. RGB puke, always the way forward. Or better still, off. Switch it back to motherboard control. Actually, I haven't installed the MSI software yet, have I? And has that finished downloading? No, still downloading. I am ignoring questions, I think, so I can not see them. Kieran says, I think the 1600AF is no longer in production. Yeah, I've not seen it anywhere for a long time. Seamanite says, Eugene Heaven might require Microsoft redistributable for C++. Okay, we'll see. It might do. Right, where's the thing to say open? Open when ready. Anthony Law says I get 400 on the 600AF at stock. And Billy K says I get 529 on my 3900 single core. Or 3900X rather. Nice one, Billy. Come on, install your basket. There we go. Next, 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 next. Install. And close. Finito. Where's my mouse? Oh, there it is. So, any guesstimations what we should see in our benchmark? So, I'm going to leave the default. So, API is going to be DirectX 11, quality high, tessellation disabled, stereo 3D disabled, obviously, multi-monitor disabled, anti-aliasing is off, full screen is on, and resolution is the system resolution, which will be 1080p. And run. Kieran says, I daren't even test my 3400G. 3400G is a great little CPU.
Is that what I got?
No. Kath's been upgraded the last couple of days. She has now got the Ryzen 7 1700X, which used to be my old video editing PC chip. And some more RAM as well. Right, let's hit the benchmark. Why is this not working? Oh, if I press the left mouse rather than right mouse, that will often help. So let's get some warmth into there. So at the moment, average FPS is in the region of 80, 85, 86, 87, 90. Graphics is 2100 megahertz and the memory is 6001 megahertz, which is pretty much standard specs as you'd expect to see. Gameplay Life says, is it a good PC? Well, I think so. Yeah.
Billy says auto overclock.
Auto OC. What's that for the graphics card? This is pretty much stock, so I've left everything as it is really out of the box, just so that this is a really comparable thing of what you can expect. If you went out and bought these bits, this is what the video was about and what the videos leading up to this, the live stream from last Saturday and also the video we did, which was released I think yesterday or the day before, you can buy this, is actually available. You can go out in the shops or you can go online, you can order this stuff and it will arrive next day, same day, whatever. You can actually get your hands on this stuff at the moment, which is actually something of a rarity. There's a lot of stuff which is becoming quite scarce. Graphics cards, especially anything like 3080s, 3090s obviously, 3070s we haven't got yet, but it's just, everything's getting a little bit scarce.
You did just have a message in, but they've retracted it, saying you sound like Gordon Ramsay. Lucky you don't look like him.
No, it's not.
Huh?
That is a bit bizarre.
He's London, isn't he?
Scottish? I don't know.
$1,700X is now cheaper than 3400G. You've let me down like a kipper, Poe.
What's that, Poe?
You've let me down like a kipper, Poe.
Who's that?
You.
Why?
Because the 1700X is now cheaper than a 3400G.
If you can't buy them. They don't exist anymore.
That's even worse.
Seaman Knight says, I'd put money that the 1650 Super is not running at 2100 megahertz. It's probably clocked down since then. I don't know why it comes up with that. I think it just picks up the default speeds. I suppose I should use Tech GPU or something.
Kieran says the fans are pretty for included fans.
In
which case, say about the new Colink case fans.
Oh yeah, if you like the look of these case fans, the new K-Link Phalax, K-Link, The new Colink Phalanx V2. Christ, I'm going to have a right nightmare with that review, aren't I? Outtake, and action.
Do you mean your fans or the computer fans?
Yeah, the Phalanx V2 case, the fans in that thing are off the hook. They're kind of like this, but they take it up to another level. So they've got 2 individual bands of RGB, like the light loop fans, I think it is. So the inside moves and the outside moves, and you can do some really trippy stuff in the RGB with those. It's really, really cool.
Oh, poor ugly Bob.
Poor old ugly Bob. Go on, Bob. Come on, how much more we got to go? So scene 26, 25 to 26. Any bets? What we're going to get? What's the score going to be? I'm guessing it's going to be... Well, we've had a lot of 2500 and 2600, so let's say 2600 for argument's sake. I'm probably way out. Oh, 28. So I wasn't a million miles off. 28 is pretty... that's quite respectable for this, I suppose. So
it's very quiet.
It is actually pretty quiet as well. There's not really a great deal of noise coming from it.
Do you want that?
Mm.
Yeah. Is that gone?
Severn. Yeah, actually I'm quite pleased with that. 28. That's a pretty decent score, I think. Considering it's only a little 4 gig card, it doesn't cost a great deal of money. I think that's pretty good. So Billy K, 2465. What's that for, Billy? Gameplay Life says the PC looks fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, it does look pretty decent, I think. I'm quite impressed. And even that, with under benchmark conditions, let's actually tab out of it and break it. He says. And temperature-wise, so what do we get then? So temperature-wise, CPU, still we haven't beat the 65 degrees, so it's around in the 50s. And our GPU has maxed out at 76 degrees, which is, again, pretty much where you would expect for that sort of card under its full load. And the graphics card clock speeds, yeah, it has apparently repeated, or it has apparently shown completely wrong that it's 21 megahertz. The graphics core clocked in at 1905 at the top for the graphics. Actually, what's that? Graphics, memory, and video. So what's the difference between video and graphics? I'm confused. Aren't they the same thing? Anyway, very confused. So I think that is. I think that's pretty much as much as we're going to do. We've been doing this now for 3 hours or more.
More, I think.
And I definitely needs to go take a piss.
Dave Bell said he had to ditch his 3600 stock cooler with CMQ300 effect.
Ah, yes. Oh, yes. The Q300. We do love that case. Not a lot. So, anyway, I think that's going to wrap things up. You've got a basic idea of what this performs like. You will be seeing a lot more of this in the next few days and weeks as we go on. Flight Sim 2020 is definitely going to be the next thing to test on that, so I need to swap that for that over there. So I'll be doing that a little bit later on. But if you've enjoyed the content, then please do stick a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe and all that kind of usual stuff. And if you want to have more stuff like this, or you want to be a bigger part of the Mike's Unboxing community, feel free to join us on our Discord and also on the live stream Saturday evenings at 9 PM UK time. If you want to support the channel directly, obviously we've got our Discord chat. We've got our Patreon channel. Wow, words is hard. I think that's yeah, I think that is pretty much it. not a bad system.
Ugly Bob wants you to go in the garden, sorry.
Go in the garden, okay.
Fox season.
Oh, yes, of course, obviously.
He can't concentrate because he's busting.
Nice little system, works out really well. When the stream's finished, I'll try and update the links so you can get an idea of the parts and where we got them from, and current prices. I'm going to guesstimate realistically. Well, actually, let's tot it up a little bit. So RAM is probably going to be the best part of £100. Motherboard about £100 again. Processor £80, so that's £280. Case I think was 54. Kath, you need to calculate this because my brain.
Sorry, let me get my calculator going.
Get a calculator going, Kath.
Okay.
Let's start again. So £55 for the case, £40 for the power supply, £100 for the RAM, £100 for the board, £85 for the processor. The graphics card, I'm not sure. I think is about £140 at the moment, so that's a bit of a guesstimation. The NVMe drive is going to be in the region of about 70, I want to say, maybe slightly more. I think that is it. Is there anything else I've forgotten? Power supply, case, motherboard, processor, RAM, graphics card.
That's 6 items.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? Is that it?
Yeah, I've added up 7 now.
Oh, NVMe.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds about right, doesn't it? So around about £590, give or take, thereabouts. So essentially under £600. You could easily save money on the RAM, go for something a little bit less blingy and maybe just 2 sticks rather than those 4 crazy sticks. And then maybe swap out the graphics card from a 1650 Super to a 1660 Super, which I would probably advise in the current climate. The price difference between them is probably about £40 to £50, depending which model you buy. So the 1660 Super is going to be considerably faster for gaming, so I would certainly recommend that. But again, you may not need that. You may not just need a decent graphics card just to get the job done or do a bit of video editing, so in which case, absolutely perfect. So yeah, there we go. There is the roundabout £600 PC build. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourselves this evening. We thank you all so much for taking part and joining, and obviously for the super chats as well. That is absolutely brilliant. But on that note, I think we'll call it a day. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.